What was that?
So Courtney,
Mud puppies.
a few years ago, Kai said to me, sit down. Why couldn't you have been tall?
Thank you.
And I said, what do you want, smart or tall? He said, both. But at least 5 foot and 5'6".
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, Devin is,
That's
he's
one
not
of
in here. Devin is about to be 16, but he's over 62 now.
the big feet.
You ready?
I think I
You ready?
remember you saying that.
You'd like me to unmute?
No, are you ready to start the meeting? Bodie isn't as tall as me yet.
Call this hearing of Archaeological Review Committee of 22 August 2024 to order, and we have the roll call, please.
Chair Eck,
Present.
Member Bechtel,
Present.
Member Wands,
Present.
Member Trees.
Excused apparently.
Yes, and Member Pierce.
Excused.
Terry, you have a form.
Thank you. First, what's to do is consider the agenda. Do you have anything to offer that needs changed or rearranged?
No, Chair.
All right, committee,
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Move on to approval of the minutes, which I see no minutes, therefore keep going. Matters from the floor. Anybody here need to raise any issues from the floor? Now's your time to do so. Hearing no issues raised, one point of clarification, who do we have in attendance via the digital monster?
That would just be staff, Chair.
All right. I take my glasses
Let me
off to
double
read,
check.
therefore I can't see the screen.
Let me double check there.
Yeah,
Yes, that would be staff.
stop. Yeah, thank you. So then, we are ready for old business. Case number 2023-6315, Ron Winters, agent for Adobe Star Properties LLC, applicant requests approval of an archaeological inventory and testing report for proposed project at 275 East Alameda Street in the historic downtown archaeological review district. Thank you for the staff report. Paul, anything to add to that?
No, Chair. Thank you. Where are we?
Paul?
It's right there.
Ron, that's the only open seat, I think. Have to identify yourself and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Ron Winters, 109 Calle Paula, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505.
Thank you. Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Winters. You've been sworn.
Ron, what more do we need to know? besides what you've submitted?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize for this taking so long to get back to you. There was some money owed and I didn't want to finish till I was compensated for the work that I've been done. I hope that I've addressed your concerns and corrections that you've asked before, but I'm open to, hear what your comments are. I don't know if I have anything more to say about this game. Yeah.
All right. Member Bechtel.
Well, having not seen it before, I was surprised that there's no evidence of that pond anywhere. I I didn't see where the evidence was
Well,
in the trenches or where, there's no organic matter that's left over or there's anything, or is it just that we didn't go deep enough?
Hold on. I am massively confused. There's no pond on this project.
Are we
So
not on the,
did the packet get delivered in a somewhat interesting order, and were certain things left out of the agenda that were included in the packet?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay.
is this the St. Francis Cathedral School?
Yeah, we have an odd item here. St. Francis Cathedral School, which is not the case in question.
Oh, I apologize, and I don't have, that's the other one.
I was referring to that too. I thought that was first on the
So
agenda.
according to the agenda, we are at 2023-00-6315 for agent Robert Adobe Star Properties LLC for 275 East Alameda.
This is the
Is
St.
that,
Francis School,
is that not what your packets reflect?
what I have first.
I'm looking for East Alameda. On the agenda that I have in the packet.
Well, it's under old business.
All right. And we will move to that item. I'm sorry. Please proceed.
So,
So I was just curious why we don't see evidence of where that pond was.
well, that's when, we met before,
Figured.
David had asked to do a trench to see if we could get cross section. Eliminating there in the trench. The problem was it had been backfilled and then it had been a nursery after that. In fact, the fellow who took it over was 2 years before Bishop Moody's death. And he was working, he waited in the nursery and was, cultivating.
So he drained the pond.
Well, I don't know what happened to the water, but I assume it was because it was then backfilled and then utilized as,
The orchard
the
or
or-
the
Nursery.
nursery.
yeah. But we looked, I mean, in the trenches that I put in, including number 10, we looked hard to see if there was, indication of, the slope, of the edge or the island in the middle. But
And how deep did you go?
the 10 went to 6 feet deep, I
Okay.
believe, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, that's my only comment really was, oh, isn't it interesting that you can't find it, that we can't. find it.
Yeah, it wasn't defined in the
Mhm.
trenches.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with the amount of disturbance that property is seeing.
Over the years.
And even going, that deep. You see, on page 56, I mean, that was quite deep, and then the profile is,
I wish there was like a meter, like, there was kind of a meter deep.
oh, that
More
was,
than-
oh,
yeah.
that was even, yeah. I have to look at it again. I don't remember the exact
Mhm.
depth, but it was about 6 feet deep. And the other thing was, there wasn't a lot, 2 meters deep,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of artifacts. As, I was surprised about that, and they weren't necessarily, you couldn't necessarily tie them to that occupation,
Mhm.
you know.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Maybe once. Um, yeah.
we accept, approve, I move we approve, case number 2023-006315. And second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next. Case number 2023-7484. Ron Winters, agent for Jim Hume and Llewellyn Knowles, owner, requests approval of a cultural resources survey of 2.859 acres for the proposed lot split at 1596 Canyon Road, lot 1B1, and 1600 Canyon Road, lot 1B2, in the River and Trail Archaeological Review District. Staff report.
There's a couple,
Would you like us to sit at the table?
needs sworn in.
Okay. Please do, but
Thank you.
stay put for a while. We're not ready for it yet. We have a staff report, and you all anything to add to that?
Yes, Chair. We have, staff has put together a brief presentation to share with ARC committee. Amanda, may I have permission to share? We made a site visit yesterday after discussion of hearing this case previously. And HPD staff had some concerns for the development of this parcel and the assessment.
You'll have to accept your trial as well, Ms. Anderson. Thank you.
Tarek, members of the ARC, in case 2023007484 ARC at 1596 and 1600 Canyon Road, there was an archaeological resource identified as a Acequia del Llano located at the northern or the southern portion of this property. It's here's an overview map, and here's an overview of the location of the property looking southward. So here's the parcel and the lot split that they were given in 2022 by the current planning department. The lot 1B2 is located here in this vicinity, in which they're looking at establishing about a 3,000 square foot structure with the casita. So the acequia is in great shape. It's running very well. Our concern with staff, here's the proposed development of the structure. And this is a unique case. Well, in this particular case, we don't tend to see what will be developed. We don't tend to see what's going to be developed and then give input on that. The ARC tends to review and approve clearance for development with not knowing what will be developed. So in this case, the ARC is able to see what kind of structure will be developed, the location of the acequia, and some prominent points on the structure, the yard wall and the casita corner wall, that southwest corner wall. This acequia is located above the property parcel quite a bit, extensively. And at a site visit yesterday, staff had concerns about this corner, that this southwestern corner of the casita, the yard wall from the toe of the slope is around 17 to 18 feet. Here we can see that corner post with the tape measure up is gonna be that corner of the structure of the casino. And the rise of the acequia here is the active flowing acequia del Llano. And the toe of the slope comes down and it's sloping northwardly. And that corner sits right on, almost right against that acequia. So not on top of it, but very close to it. And any kind of backhoe trenching, as we all know, or any kind of implementation of any kind of fencing or anything, wherever you're digging into this sloping side, it's gonna disturb that acequia. So at the site visit yesterday, I shared with the property owner and the architect, we need a little bit more grace on this. We need a little more buffer from that corner lot. So here's our Historic Preservation Division Manager, Gary, holding the tape at the center line of the acequia, and we pulled it to the toe of the slope. It was around 17 to 18 feet on the toe of the slope. So from there, that's, the rise and fall. And then we pulled the tape another 10 feet from that point. So from there, given in the previous hearing of of this case, given there's some concerns about overreaching and making it too constricted. So 10 feet from the toe of the slope, we photographed it, and that would be the location where the head of the tape is at. And I know because of my speaking, you can't see it.
Is a technical question. Thank you for getting rid of that. I was about to ask you to do that. So,
I was talking to the property owner and the architect and seeing if we can move it an additional 10 feet. If they were able to move it additional 10 feet, this landscape is still sloping down northwardly. It's gradual, maybe 2 feet from this post to here is about 2 feet, but it's sloping. And staff would be comfortable if that would be the southwest corner of that casino. Any closer to that, the potential is high. Staff believes the potential is high for adverse impacts to the acequia. And we were discussing about it and possibly getting a water engineer to review it and see if it works, and just finding out ways that we can work with the property owner and architect so they can develop their home, but being very preservation minded towards the acequia currently. So if there's some kind of ways to do so, but staff wanted to share this overview with you for this acequia and just give you an idea of what we saw yesterday at the site visit. And that's where staff is on this. We recommend a little more buffer for the acequia in some manner for preservation aspects. Thank you, Chair.
all right, thank you. And now, Ron, you're already sworn in. Is there anything you want to add to this before we go to our guests?
So some of this is out of my hands. I mean, I've done what, the survey, written a report, and using the revised plans or the new plans, I've added that in, and I recommended the preservation easement, and I was able to track it down, Lanny. Because I knew this document existed, and sure enough, she found it. So there is and I even gave her the right number. There is it's not called an order. What's it called, Paul? The language on that,
It's
not executive order, it's something.
I believe it is I apologize,
Yeah,
I have it on my desk. It's an executive order number 11.
Yeah.
For cultural preservation for a cultural resource that was identified during an investigation, that if one is found that a revised plat map would be needed to provide in perpetuity cultural preservation easement. And I can go grab mine off my desk.
The point is, there's a document that
Yeah.
says this is what needs to happen, and it matches what the ordinance says needs to happen. I personally don't know that we need to see that document
I just wanted to let you know that I did find it, Lanny found it.
unless other committee members want to see said document.
But I recommended it before with Santa Fe Trail Rats, and, you know, I just couldn't find it, but it is. You know. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. So we have two individuals who come forward to the table who would like to say something, so you both have to be identified and sworn.
Okay, I can swear you in at the same time, so please raise your right hand and each of you state your name and address for the record.
Jiang Hyun, 165 Vicente Road, Berkeley, California, 9472.
Doug McDowell, 1317 Sutter Gordo Road, Santa Fe, 87501.
Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalties of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. They have been sworn, Chair.
All right, and you all decide who's going to speak first and go for it.
Yeah. I'll do it. Couple of things, in the agenda, it talks about, this being an archaeological, approval for a lot split. But as all mentioned already, the lot has been split. And, we have submitted plans for houses on both the lots, but we gotten feedback from the historical review design district and neighbors, etc. So we have revised our plans and we submitted a plan for, we just thought, we're gonna have to build it anyway. So my wife and I want to build a home and retire here. So this land parcel came up and it was just bigger than what we wanted, but it's a beautiful piece of parcel. So we bought it, but now it's a lot of land. So what we just had to do was apply for a lot split, and that was granted. So when we originally submitted our plans, it was plans for both the homes, one on each lot. But given the feedback from the HRDB and the neighbors, we have decided to submit our plans for only one lot, that 3,000 square foot, 3,200 square feet on that Paul mentioned, and it's sited on 1.095 acres. So if I'm reading the city code 14-313B2A, procedures for rivers and trail archaeological review district, it reads, in this district, an archaeological clearance permit shall be required prior to approval of the final development plan or plat for the following projects. A, annexation, rezoning, subdivision, plan, unit developments, or other developments requiring approval by the planning commission having over 2 acres or having any part lying within the area identified as the Santa Fe Trail. Our submittal is for a home on 1.095 acres. And we've emailed and written, our attorney has written to Mr. Paul Duran, Ms. Heather Lamboy. And so our position is we're sort of confused as to why we're here, because it doesn't fall under the very plain language of this city code. That's probably the initial thing I would get out and put before the committee before we proceed with any of Paul's suggestions. And we met Paul and had a constructive conversation. But before we even proceed to any of that, I just want to posit our argument. And Frank wrote us back and said he disagrees, but that's kind of where we are.
A question? Is it in the rivers and trails or historic downtown?
Rivers and trails.
It is rivers and trails, because up there it says historic downtown.
Oh, shoot. I apologize. It's in the River and Trails Archaeological Review District.
Oh, and we also want to point out that, our home has been approved by the Historical Design Review District. And in the approval, it specifically cites a 3,200 square foot home sited at 1600 Canyon Road, on 1.095 acres. We don't know what we're gonna do with the other parcel, but you know, that's also under 2 acres. So do they have to get an they're under 2 acres. If we sell it to somebody else, do they have to, come before this committee? Or is the city prepared to identify everyone who owns around an acre, which is which used to be a bigger parcel in Santa Fe, that's probably every 1 acre parcel. Are they prepared to notify those landowners saying that they have to have an archaeological review committee, a clearance permit, I believe, in order to proceed with whatever they plan to do?
Chirek,
Yeah.
to respond to that. Initially, in December 7th of 2023, when this came before the board, the property owner was proposing to develop both those lots. So they were coming in for the lot split, which is necessary through the city. Now, the city current planning department gave a lot split for this property without getting the archaeological clearance. And so when the applicant presented this to the ARC, it was for the development of both parcels. Because now their plans have changed since then. And however, they have talked to their archaeologists to present this case in the same order, same fashion, because that's the way it's been presented to city staff for approval.
And there is a condition of approval on the lot split that an archaeological clearance permit must be obtained. So the regular process is for development plans or lot splits or what of the like, there are conditions of approval. And so in this particular case, and the fact that it was a much larger development originally, that's why, it needed the archaeological clearance permits.
So just a quick question, was that condition stated in the approval that it have to have an archaeological? Because I'm looking at, for example, the HRDB, and there was some feedback from the HRDB about our design.
Right.
And then in the approval letter or the plat in case of a split, in the approval letter, for example, it says, the bullnosing and then moving there's a couple of conditions. So was that condition that the lot split was contingent on an archaeological committee review? Is that codified?
Those things are caught at building permits. And also when you come in for sort of a pre-submittal, and so it's routed to our staff for review.
So generally, the ARC would have seen this in December because you had been postponed by the HDRB 3 times for your design for both 1596 and 1600. So
We were actually it was just once. It was just once.
one time you were postponed.
Yes.
Yeah, but it went on several agendas.
Yep.
So you were postponed multiple times, however that you were postponed one time to develop both these lots. In December 7th, 2023, you came before the ARC for approval for the lot split for the development of both these lots. You're here today to get approval for the same matter because that's the same way it was presented to city staff and presented to the ARC. We are looking at.
But Paul, we actually, sorry to interrupt, we actually requested that this be removed from the agenda item because we didn't feel like it was applicable. Because we're not applying for lots, but that's what the agenda says.
So if I might just contribute something, state law also applies in here when it comes to, I think it's neither here nor there, the report. the situation is whether it's the preservation of the acequia for which you originally were opposed to. And the acequia benefits the community as a whole. And there's also state law regulating acequias in New Mexico. And so the archaeology is sort of an aside. The report is sort of an aside. In this case, the request was for an easement and for the buildings to be set back. So if we can come to some form of agreement, and there was a report that was reviewed, and there was direction given by the committee, and the reason we're back here is to clarify and ascertain that direction, because there was some confusion.
Well, and to, first of all, we're very excited about the acequia. We don't think of it as a nuisance. We have completely bought into the importance of the acequia, and we have already submitted with our builder. We've already submitted, the plans in pre-construction, and then when the acequia and the retaining wall gets built, it will actually, because I think at the meeting on December 7th, you made a point that not only we talked about the construction process, but we want to protect the acequia in perpetuity. So that's what this casita will do, and that's what the retaining wall will do, is to stabilize the ground in front of the acequia. So number one, then we're just arguing about what is the appropriate way to protect the acequia during the construction process, because once these things have been built, it will stabilize and protect the acequia, going forward. So in terms of the easement, for example, again, I believe Vice Chair Pierce said that it is, I'm going to quote, "It is not the ARC's legal authority to require cultural preservation easement. It is a voluntary thing between the landowner and the city and has to be agreed to by the city." That's what Vice Chair Pierce said. So, and then thinking about this further, we also believe that such an easement would actually create a conflict between the city and the existing authority. You were talking about, there are things that are in place to protect the acequia. Well, there is an existing authority, the Acequia Association, that has the mandate of protecting and preserving and maintaining the acequia. And the acequia easement is, which is 12 feet, I think 6 feet on each side, was what the Acequia Association wanted. And we're well beyond that. Paul was there, it's 17 feet. So on one side. So, and so let's just say, for example, that conflict would occur, and then we don't really want to be in the middle of that. So what happens, for example, if the Acequia Association wants to widen the acequia or line it with concrete, like to make the water flow better, and that's happened in a lot of rural acequias, I believe. So and I actually have the policy data document. So it says, no activity this is the language that is being proposed to be put on the plat. No activity which disturbs ground surface shall occur within the boundaries of the cultural properties preservation easement reflected on this plat. So if the mayordomo and all of us that are sharing the acequia decide, for example, that we want to widen the acequia or deepen it or line it with concrete, that cannot happen. Or that our portion will be in conflict with the desires of the existing, I guess it's a quasi-legal entity that is there to protect and preserve the acequia. So for those two reasons, we're not prepared to add that language, despite Ron's recommendations, because we don't want to be in the middle of what authority there already exists with the mayordomo and the Acequia Association versus this cultural easement, which again is completely voluntary.
Let's clarify one thing. Putting an easement in place is indeed voluntary. It is a solution that would act to prevent an effect on a property from a proposed action, which is building this house on this lot. There are other
Potentially.
things you could do. You wouldn't have to put in an easement if you, for instance, came up with an appropriate engineering plan signed off by the Safety Association that would act to prevent any deterioration of their interest in said acequia easement. That's a different means of treating the property. The idea of a preservation easement is it's left alone and nothing you would do would intrude on that easement and change its integrity. As far as I know, there's no intent on anybody's part on any preservation easement of an acequia to prevent the owners of said acequia from maintaining or otherwise doing what they need to do to keep the acequia functional. They are supposed to work together, not at cross purposes. So I personally can't see why a preservation easement would do what you just indicated it would do, i.e. collide head on with the Acequia Association and its ability to maintain its acequia. That's just a country boy. I'm not a lawyer. And I'm sure we'll hear from someone sitting across the table here eventually, but just so you know, that's my perception so far. Tends to be Solomon. What's preventing a modification of the lot split, moving the split downhill toward the river, making that lot smaller, making this lot bigger, and moving her whole house down 10 feet, and then golly, you wouldn't have a collision.
You don't own that part.
We're right up on the zoning, the
Setback.
setback, we're right up on it.
And you've since not had any ownership involvement with the other lot that's involved in this split that happened somehow, somewhen by means I still don't understand, but is now in place. Do you not own both properties?
We own both properties.
Okay, then why couldn't you just move the split line 10 feet north, move your whole house footprint and everything 10 feet north, make city staff happy with the avoidance of the hypothetical limit of an easement and let it go?
Yeah, so we own this parcel here, and we own this parcel here, so the only thing we can't move it this, I mean, we would be happy.
Okay, okay, so
That's this, right?
this is the property. Yeah. The split I thought we were talking about is not the split in question. So now I understand. It's a completely different split. Yeah. I wish we'd been clear on that. Sorry about that a while back. Go ahead.
And Chair, we have actually submitted, I think Ron has, we have, first of all, we're confident not only in the distances involved, but we're also confident in Doug's abilities and his quality as a builder. So he's gonna be building he's gonna be driving not the backhoe, but the small piece.
I'll either be driving it or my son will, and I'll be standing there. But I'd rather go into that in detail after you're through.
And then we're, again, I think the previous committee meeting was talked about just the massive size of the house. We're only building 3,200 square feet, and it's the south end of it is just abutting against the zone. So we can't really, there's not as much latitude. The reason why the house is tilted is partly just because it works well with the contours of the land, and it will require a lot less cutting and filling. But I do want to point out that we did submit a construction mediation plan, which is to be found in the general notes, and a letter that was so we have
We
submitted.
have no knowledge of any of that, involvement in any of that. And I'm sorry if the city's way of doing things, it doesn't make sense to me. Because I would have started this whole thing way differently a long time ago. So I understand what you're up against now. So On that diagram, what do you own?
On this diagram, we own this parcel, that's one parcel. And then the second one is this one, which was originally, this whole thing was originally, and actually, this parcel too was part of the Rodriguez family. as
And
well.
that's why I thought that was the
Yeah.
split between north and south on the same side of that
Yeah.
north-south line.
Yeah.
And it's not the case.
Yep.
So,
That's why we're running against the constraints of our zone. I mean, we have to abide by the zoning regulations.
So
Setback.
okay, I see all kinds of possibilities for changing split lines still and keeping the orientation, but moving certain things to fit it into a bigger space that you would have access to if the split line wasn't where I'm understanding now, where I think it is. So Heather wanted to interject something a bit ago.
Thank you, Chair. So, we did a site visit yesterday, Paul, Gary, Anthony Myers as the Historic District's inspector, and these gentlemen here, Doug and, and the property owner, and we talked about different options. So we did the measurements, and it turns out that, you know, we're trying to determine the toe of the slope based on some guidance that we had received. The issue here is not necessarily that they can't build their house. It's a matter of where the house goes. And I think you pointed that out already. And we sort of brainstorm on the side as well about potentially the studio or the guest house that is, on the rear. Can you go back to the site plan, please? You know, potentially this could be shifted over and, stay away from the acequia. This right here is a little close too, so there's a lot of options even within the setback lines, but I think you've already talked about that. So just wanted to let you know our discussions on that.
Okay, we're all learning something, and what primarily my take-home lesson is, I have no desire whatsoever to be involved in city planning and deciding setbacks and all this other horse poking. That's what it is. Something. It needs done, but it's not done by archaeologists.
Right.
We're stuck here with cultural property that is an acequia. That is a heck of a lot bigger than those hypothetical lines on that plat. The acequia begins wherever the slope has been modified, upslope of its alignment, and it ends wherever any modification of the slope had an effect on the downslope side. So you're telling me it's at least 17 feet, and it might be closer to 27 feet before the slope created by the creation of the acequia and the pitching of material downstream reaches natural grade.
Chair, I would even say it's a little further, north, down.
This was my first and biggest and most important question. If an easement is put into place, what is its dimensions? Because 6 feet either side doesn't cover any of that archaeological area of concern. It's a flat, doesn't. So if we're gonna protect this acequia with archaeological preservation easement, whatever the term is, it's not 6 feet on either side of the center. Sorry. So I think we're looking at a different option. Sir.
if I may, when it first came to the HDRB and got a lot of feedback from the neighbors and what have you, I went back to the clients and suggested that they only do one house, their own house, and that they reduce the size and they move it away from the acequia in order to get more of a separation from there, and also to allow me a way to protect the acequia during construction and to not do any damage during construction with different measures that we spell out on the plat. We are now 7 to the point, and it's actually just to the back point of that room there, we're 17.5 feet from the center of the easement as opposed to 6 feet. If I Could, if you could
This
bring
is
up.
the first time I knew it was from the center. I'm learning something. There's
Yeah,
6 feet.
so
that's
we're
not
17 feet
standard.
from the center line, which is
Okay.
a 35-foot easement, if we went both ways. As
Ah.
opposed to a 12-foot.
Nobody's doing anything on the other side of the Acequia.
No, of course, we see the picture with the holding the tape. This is the hill. Let's go back one where we were, please. This is the slope that's been created by the digging into the hill, the acequia, and the dirt going here. But this is the hill. If this hill right through here got cut and attached to the other slope over here, which is the natural slope, that's how they created the acequia right here. This is the spill from that digging. And then from here forward, this naturally tapers down the hill and it's not man-made.
Cool. That's helpful too. So
So
now what we're lacking is a clear profile of all of this, illustrating all of that, because we're pointing at pictures and that's not real data.
and we do have topography that was presented to the city along the building permit that was done by a surveyor to show that. It's about a 3-foot cut. It's just the back point of this room and it's solid and there's no walkway around it. It's all restored to.
I appreciate the plan for a 3-foot cut, but that's actually immaterial at the moment. What we need to know is a profile of the natural landscape as it has been impinged upon by the establishment and maintenance of the acequia, from top of property to bottom of property, cross section, whole thing.
You have that.
What does it look like?
Where's that point on your plan? Where's the toe of the slope?
On
Where's
the-
the toe of the slope?
On the plan, you want
On
to
the
see it
plan.
up here again? Okay.
If it's not here, it's somewhere else, it's down here.
The toe of the slope is like. down
Right on,
here.
yeah, right on that. It's very steep.
And
It's
what we-
probably
this is-
around-
This is 6 feet
Yeah.
away from the center, which creates a 12.
Okay, hold
But
on.
that's regardless, I'm not asking about
I
those
understand.
lines, I'm asking about where the actual toe of the slope is.
It's
For
steep.
400 years, they've been dumping that dirt over that side, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say it's about, that line is about, the acequia easement is about 6 feet, it's 12 feet, so it's 6 feet each side. You're on, obviously.
I'm not
yeah,
asking
but-
about the easement,
right.
I'm
No,
asking
no, no,
about the.
but
toe
that's
of the
about
slope.
where, I'm just saying that's about where the toe of the slope is. So it's about 10 feet, 11 feet away from the toe of the slope is my guess. And there's just a couple of things, without recourse to a cultural preservation easement, we are already building 17 feet, or maybe a little more than 10 feet away from the toe of the slope, or 17 away from the center line of the acequia. During the December 7th commission meeting, Paul had asked for a 10-meter easement, if you recall. So 10 meters is about 32 feet and 33 feet. So it's about a little less than 17 on both sides. That's actually, we're beyond that, what Paul had asked. And I'm going to quote you again, Chirag, when Paul said, can the city request a 10-meter easement? So for Chirag, it's outside of the city to request a 10-meter buffer. Our normal preservation easements are not that big. It would be overstepping to protect that far. And then later on, we were talking about sort of the consequences of that 10 meter. And this is beyond that 10 meter that Paul had initially asked for at the first meeting. We are beyond that point.
Oh, whoa. We're nowhere near 10 meters. I'm still fighting with the fact that y'all are talking about a center line that I just now learned is not the point of origin for the measurements that we were discussing earlier.
Okay.
And we're not talking about the 6-foot edge of an easement that hypothetically falls someplace on either the bank top or upper slope of downside embankment. We're not talking about that either. You're measuring from someplace that I thought you defined to another place that you did define with a picture, and you said it was 17 feet. So where is the 17 feet? Is it at that stake? Stay right where you are. I need Paul to answer this question. He's the one who measured it, and he's the one who said it.
Chirag, ARC members, Gary Molino is holding the tape at the center of the acequia, and at the toe of the slope, I pulled the tape down, and it's about between 17 and 18 feet. from the center line
Center of the city.
of the center of the acequia down to the toe of the
How
slope.
far is it from there to the corner of this hypothetical studio slash guest house?
That's the
From there,
17
I
feet
would
he's
say
talking
about
about.
6 feet.
Okay.
No, we can't be talking about different
Sure.
things. Is the stake at 23 feet?
Yes,
From the
sir.
Center line of this.
Yes, sir.
From the acequia, okay. So you're saying there's 6 feet between the stake and what you're arguing is the toe of the slope.
No, I'm suggesting it's probably a little bit more than 10 feet.
27 feet
Yeah.
is in this photograph, this is 27 feet.
From what to what?
So 17 feet from the toe of the slope where Gary's standing, holding that edge, 10 feet would be right there.
That's what you're proposing, not where.
I'm proposing
Yeah.
another 10 feet from there. I'm proposing 10 feet from this stake northward. When you're at the site,
Well,
it's,
that's why I'm saying a profile would be really, really helpful.
I'm
Maybe
proposing
that's-
another 10 feet from where Gary measured the 10 feet from the toe of the slope, 10 feet. I'm requesting another 10 feet.
Okay, well. As long as we can establish that Gary is standing at the toe of the slope,
Yes,
which toe is 17 feet from the center line of the acequia.
where Gary is standing from right here is 17 feet, and that's the toe of the slope.
Okay,
Where he's standing.
where he's standing.
Yes,
So you were going to point out,
Well, I just want to make sure that when
Variance
we're measuring not like this,
bingo,
you know, because if we start saying we're 17 feet from the top to the bottom, we're measuring on the slope, we've got a much bigger distance than measuring surveying wise,
another good reason to have an actual profile.
which we do have. And we have, I mean, we've topographically surveyed this whole site with Paul Rodriguez, surveyor.
That's great. We don't have that here, so we can't refer to that in further discussion.
Okay,
What,
Sure, I'll make one more point.
go ahead.
So, as that conversation went on December 17th, we were just talking about the 10-meter easement that Paul proposed, which is about 30 feet, 33 feet. I'm going to quote you again. There will be no place to build anything bigger than an outhouse. So yikes. So what the city, and then also Vice Chair Pierce talked about how easements are measured from the center line of these, historically. So that means, so if I'm going with Paul's suggestion, which is about double what he had actually requested at the initial, close, it's almost 0.4 acres. The easement will be almost 0.4 acres, maybe a little bit bigger, of a 1.095 acres. So what the staff is recommending is that if we don't give up, is what the staff is saying to us, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but they're essentially saying, if we don't give up about 0.4 to 0.5 acres of a buildable lot, a vacant lot that's 1.095 acres, then we will not be able to build our home, despite the fact that the project has already been approved by the HRDB and meets all zoning requirements.
Jurek,
Go ahead.
we're just requesting that they take into consideration that's a acequia. The HDRB approval for their structure, that's a whole nother thing. We're just looking at the preservation of an active acequia that people are utilizing today, that have utilized it before any of us were here, and that will hopefully utilize it downrange for many more years. If they could consider working with staff in some manner of moving that casita yard wall in such a way that would prevent any adverse impacts to it, staff has no issue. After consulting with the property owner, they're not willing to move an inch. So there's
The staff is also completely ignoring the protection plan we've already put in place to protect the acequia. They're making it sound like we don't care about the acequia, which is really untrue and hurtful. So first of all, there shall be no driveway or vehicle areas developed on the south side of the new home in the lot. Temporary protection fencing shall be installed along the entire northern downward boundary of the acequia to prevent equipment or people from accessing the hillside or the acequia itself during the construction process. This will preserve the native vegetation stabilizing the area. This shall be removed after final inspection of the project. There shall be a small garden wall on 1600, 11'6" from the center of the acequia, which, by the way, Paul and his problems, the placement of that retaining wall. The south side of the casita on 1600 is located 17'8" from the center line of the acequia and shall be solid masonry, backfilled, compacted, replanted, and native plantings similar to and or with similar density to the existing plants. Please note that there is a 5-foot irrigation easement on, but you don't care about that, but there is a 5-foot, and we are 12 feet beyond that, the easement that was required by the Acequia Association. So we're pretty much where on December 7th, Paul talked about a 10-meter easement. We are a little beyond that. And now Paul's saying, I want another 10 feet or 17 feet or whatever.
Above and beyond.
Above and beyond. What he initially
That they
requested.
just made, so.
Same thing, I mean, I've been, not to toot my horn, but I've been building on this side of town and dealing with neighborhoods and I actually live real close to here as well since 1976. And we have a reputation for high respect for preservation, for the acequias, for housing, for neighbors, and all those sort of things. And that's why we have a protection plan like we do. When I look at this corner that we're talking about, I see a point and about 10 feet on each side of it that they're gonna have to be cut 2 feet deep. And we're gonna have block walls come up that are gonna be picture thined on the backside of backfilled to 95% compaction, and then a fence go over them. And it'll never come up again. And so I look at it and I go, there's no way I'm gonna damage this acequia. And if I was, I wouldn't do it. And I can just say, I stand there, I have no reservation whatsoever that this can be done. This little piece of, it's less than a small truckload of dirt that's coming out of there. And we are gonna put a chain link fence all the way along the toe of that slope and make sure nobody goes up there, nobody parks up there. I get it. I've seen awful stuff happen on job sites. I have seen through my whole, and more so now than ever, because there's hardly any supervision and there's hardly ever been supervision on construction sites. But the way we work, and the city understands it. We just received a preservation award, actually, from the old Santa Fe Association. And I look at this and I wish I could agree and say, you're right, let's move it back. This is gonna really make a big difference. But I just don't see it. And this is what I've done my entire life. And I'd be more than happy to say, sure, let's do it. If it's gonna preserve something, we're building into we're not digging into dirt that was part of the acequia. We're digging many feet away from that. And we're just 3 feet in, pull it back, backfill it, and nothing happens on the back. There's no windows, there's nothing. It's all native on the backside of that. And it's a small triangle.
You're talking about a small triangle. They're talking about 3 points that are too close to the acequia to be comfortable. So 1 to 3. Again, we have apples and oranges. I don't want to ever see this thing again unless we have a presentation that includes all of the data that is being offered, one place at one time. Because my solution would be, thou shalt not build anything until you have built a retaining wall across the entire property. And that retaining wall shall not be built unless it's excavated using archaeological methods all the way across the property. At that point, you can put in a retaining wall and we're done. We've mitigated the impact to our potential archaeology and real archaeology by doing actual excavations. The retaining wall holds the rest of it up there. If the Acequia Association would be happy with that, I see that as a solution. without preservation easement. Unless you feel like a preservation easement on top of said retaining wall would help protect your interests. But I'm not trying to dictate design. I'm just saying there's an option. We can do some archaeology. You can build a retaining wall. And that can be on whatever location the Ditch Association is comfortable with. Just bear in mind that the closer said retaining wall is to said acequia, the more archaeology needs to be done.
Paul, can you flip up the, so that's one of the things that, you know, we were having trouble, I think we were not communicating very well, but the site plan. So if you look at, so this line right here, you know, again, I'm paraphrasing, I've listened to this YouTube video many times, so I'm paraphrasing what you said. You're not only interested in the protecting the acequia during the construction process, but you would like to protect the acequia going forward. What this thing will do, will serve as a retaining wall, right? So this is literally a retaining wall, and then the foundation and the corner of the casino will also serve to stabilize. So that is theoretically not regular shaped like a solid line one like this, but that does serve, that will serve to protect and stabilize the acequia. And then, like I said, the point that Paul actually had no problem, and I'm not putting words in your mind, you had no problem with where this was. So we're just talking about this point right here. And that point is 17 feet 8 inches away. So that retaining wall that you were talking about, if we can be creative and think of this as a house, but also a retaining wall, then that is what it's going to serve, and it's 17 feet away. It is a retaining wall. We just happen to have a TV and a couch on a part of it, and then the wall, and then patio furniture on the other side. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Depending on construction materials.
Exactly.
Techniques, I can agree, it could be considered a retaining wall. So. I'm
Sorry.
talking too much, go ahead.
Sorry, I just actually had questions.
Sure.
Okay, so your retaining wall, how deep are you planning on going and how thick is it? Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
this is the retaining
3
wall, 2 to 3 feet deep as your footer.
Or is it cut? And then the retaining wall would then go above that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's.
Yeah,
like 2 feet
I
above ground,
wanted
just holding the
to
natural
know
grade.
how big a
Cut.
cut, so you can put your footer in, and how wide is the wall?
How wide is,
8 inches probably.
how wide is the
How
wall?
wide is the wall?
10 inch. The idea of what we do a lot of times when we do construction and we're doing cut and fill is we will build those walls first. And then we will do all the backfill or the front fill and rake it all out and seed it and then start construction.
That's why I said before.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
that's
and then-
how we do it. It's like, let's do the disturbance and let's put up all the fencing to keep people off of everything. And the part, I mean, the first thing we'll do is everybody will just drive their equipment there.
So then the last thing that will go in is the solar panels, I assume,
Pardon me?
the solar panels.
Correct. And those would sit on natural grade.
And then what is this right here? Sorry. Right behind the wall. This room,
This grade, I'm sorry.
the grade area.
That's right.
Oh, that's just,
Elogia.
yeah, that's a logia.
No, this is the elogia here. She's asking, pardon me, one second. That's right here.
Oh, that's, I don't know what that is. This is this,
That's all there is.
yeah, that's all there is. I'm not sure what that is. It's, whatever it is, it's behind the retaining wall on the inside.
I was more
Yeah.
interested in construction.
Yeah, I don't think,
Solar
I actually,
panels, I believe.
I
Yeah,
don't
I think
it's there anymore.
yeah, I don't think it's there anymore, so I don't know.
This is just a
okay.
yard
So
here.
this
This
is
is just a
just,
yard.
this is
Yeah.
just a yard here. So this is
I
a
have the most recent one, there's
Okay.
nothing that shows it.
so this is a retaining wall.
Yep.
Here.
Yep.
Yes.
And then, yeah, yeah,
And then it jags into the casita, which is also cut
Right.
into and which will serve to
So-
stabilize the lens.
so. It's more what the casita is, right?
It's this right
Is that-
here. It's this corner.
Right, yes, I get that. And did you guys move the solar panels?
I think we're
They're
gonna,
on that garage now.
they're on the garage now. So
We took them off the ground and put them on the
Put 'em on
garage.
the garage.
So then we don't have to worry about the solar panels. Okay, so
Now
then,
we're just down to two.
so this is the retaining wall here. The garden here.
And it dives into the,
Right.
it goes into the casita, right?
It resides in.
And then the foundation and the walls of the casita will also serve to
This,
stabilize.
this is retaining wall.
Yep.
And this wall.
And it's over 30% slope according to that map right there.
Which is,
Those points that you're pointing to.
And Sharak, to put these footers in, they dig down 4 feet. They're not digging down 4 feet right where that corner
it is 20.
is gonna be. They're digging down 4 feet in 3 feet direction of all around it.
Where
So-
you're back here.
That needs to be considered when these guys are making up on the fly.
You're way back there.
That's why I said all excavation below grade
We're back here.
and the whole dang thing is
We're
gonna be
back here.
archaeological, not
That
construction.
yard is.
It's, I don't see any other way to get there. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna make a suggestion that we request a drawing, a section drawing, but I know Gayla had something to say, before a decision is made. I think that will be the best way.
And I'd like to see the house on that topo map. That would be great. My opinion is that just because you're careful doesn't mean the next person's gonna be careful. And I think an easement is necessary to protect the acequia. I've seen it all over town. I've been here 32 years, not as long as Mr. McDowell, where the acequias have been bulldozed and it only takes a backhoe a day or a morning. And so that's no matter where the house is and how close you are and what that is. I just don't see anything other than an easement for this property. I wasn't a part of the first part of the discussion and I apologize for coming in, but that's where I land with this is it's great what you're doing. I don't know why you're not building on the other lot where you have more room, but I'm sure there are good reasons for that. And it doesn't matter, I mean, the whole acequia needs to be protected because things happen in the world and the Mayordomo may not pass on, may pass on and not have a successor, is that right?
Yes.
And so I feel like that we have to, as cultural preservationists, preserve this cultural resource with and cultural resource easement, whatever form that takes. That's I don't think I would come off of that one. Whether you need to be 15 feet away, 17 feet away, I don't know. I mean, I look at that map and think, okay, the toe of that slope of that over 30% slope is quite far from the center line of that acequia. And so you have to be, by law, you have to be away from that. So I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are. And so that protects it. But go ahead.
No,
That's where,
I'm just congratulating you for stating it nicely. But clarify for me, how do you know what is the 30% slope on that drawing?
this diagram over here, and these indicate slopes over 30%.
The dark,
The hash. So these are 20 to 30. These where they're just lines, and then where they're hashed is over 30%. This is man-made, which is why it has a circle over it, so that doesn't count. So they need to be.
old acequia is man-made.
Well, good point. I don't know what it is, and I haven't been out there, but it was a pile of dirt that is
You are correct.
random.
At the bottom of that 30% is the toe of the slope.
Right, that's where
You're
the total
exactly
slope
correct.
is. Right, so
And-
we see that, and it's,
And what's been presented to the city is this topo with the house on it.
Yes, and it's not in the 30% because it's illegal to build in anything over 30%.
Okay, excellent. Got another arrow in our quiver. Mr. Durant,
Yes, Chair.
is the measurement you made at the point you made it consistent with that depiction? From center line of acequia down to toe of slope? Is that dimension the same on this drawing?
Chair, I would need to scale it to see.
I would too.
But if it's 12 feet from dotted line to dotted line, then probably it's 17, where you measure. Then it's 17, so it's, I mean,
Generally, maybe 20 feet.
It's away from it.
It is wood.
right,
So-
yeah.
And that's
There-
what they
there-
went back and did when I went back and said, you need to move this down here.
Yeah.
And this new thing, I think what gets lost is between the original presentation, when they came in with two houses and a lot to analyze at first, and then when I went back and said, if you want to, this is what you need to do to get this approved. We need to move it away. We need to reduce the amount of development. And we weren't, it wasn't postponed. That time was spent redesigning entirely what they wanted to do. And so between the first one,
Yeah,
which was postponed, it took a lot of different meetings before we came back with they came back with a new design that represented the things that were requested.
If you can't do anything on a 30-foot slope, who makes sure that nothing is done on a 30-foot slope?
terrain management inspector,
Okay,
so the city inspections.
okay. But that's an instant, a point in time. That's not, as you pointed out, down the road to the next person. So if we're gonna put an easement on this thing, we, meaning you, and we approve it, the only downslope edge of easement that makes sense to me is the toe of the slope, all the way across the property.
Which is about 7 or 8 feet, probably maybe 10 feet away from where that corner is.
That would be an easement that's put in place in perpetuity. Now, practicalities of construction.
Well, Chair, I'm sorry.
If you're gonna have to dig a hole, put in a footer to put up a retaining wall, how big's the hole? Where's the hole gonna be? What are its upslope limits? All of that has to be clear, or we don't have the tools to make any decisions. It looks to me like you've got room to do what you wanna do. If the easement's in place and there are protective measures to make sure that nobody encroaches on the easement, i.e. you built your chain link fence all along the easement before anything else happens. And then what you propose to do makes sense to staff and they feel like their interests have been protected, then I think we've got something to work with. But again, it all needs to be clear on paper. In cross sections and plan views and specification. It's a bunch of Cracker Barrel lid design right now, and I see again a bunch of possibilities. But no real solutions. Staff, do you think that some sequence of events that recognizes an easement proposed and approved and then acted upon in terms of a fence along the toe of the slope, together with other protective measures that you could be made comfortable with, do you see that as a pathway to a solution?
Chair, yes.
We will need to be provided drawings
Bingo.
in order to know.
Yeah, 'cause we can't pronounce until we see it all and it all makes sense. I just wanna
And
make
then
sure
draw
that
that.
everybody's kind of on the same page, trying to find a way
Right.
through the middle here.
And bring back for art review.
So if I, Matt,
Go ahead.
if I understand this correctly, what we're looking for is a dotted line or an indication on the building permit submittal that shows where the location of this fence is that will go in before anything happens on the lot.
Chair, staff would recommend that the cultural preservation easement using this overlay of the 30% slope be placed on that on your plat. And that cultural property easement will then initiate, okay, the acequias, we have that preservation easement in place. Now we can move forward on the retaining wall below the toe of the slope and then move forward in that direction.
And basically what you're saying is you're turning this 30% or greater slope area on the property is becoming a cultural easement. So if we were, and Matt,
Yeah.
if we are talking about this here,
Yes, that's right.
this, except for this is becoming a cultural easement.
Because it's all cultural. It was all man-made.
I mean, nothing can be done there anyway, it's over 30%.
So it doesn't do you any harm, other than preservation for the acequia.
And how does something like that happen? I mean,
How does
how does the cultural easement get created?
you create it? You say, not only are we not doing this because we can't, because it's 30% slope, we're also not doing it because it's a protected easement for the acequia, and it's defined by the toe of that 30% slope and some other sufficient distance on the other side, and you present that and put it on the plat, and we're happy.
Nothing can be done on the other.
Yeah, Chair, can I just ask you a question? If we're not allowed to build anything on that 30, you were saying it doesn't harm you, right? Because we're not allowed to build there anyway. So that, the dark, the checkered area, why do you need a cultural preservation easement?
Because you could be gone in 6 weeks and somebody else will take whatever and they'll go out there and the next thing you know, they'll decide to move the acequia uphill. It's happened. People have decided they're just going to move the acequia because it's inconvenient. And they recontour everything and the acequia is gone. And they put a ditch somewhere and they call it an acequia. It no longer functions. We've seen that 5 or 6 times in cases that came before this committee. And it all hinges on the fact that those people who have good intentions on time 1 are never around at time 2. And like the bumper sticker says, shit happens.
So Chair, I mean, we're before you. We hope that, well, number one, preservation of, I mean, you're saying somebody else in the future, but for us at least, we are very excited about having the acequia on the lot. We have no intention of having, we are going to preserve it. You're also dependent, so that's from when it gets built to perpetuity. But again, I can't guarantee what happens after I've had. So, point taken. Second of all, you have to have confidence in Doug as a builder and his reputation. So during the construction process, so that's 2 things. And we have submitted a construction mediation plan to protect the acequia already. We are, as you noted, the cultural preservation easement is a voluntary act on our part. And it also requires intermediation with either a nonprofit or the city that receives the easement. We are not prepared to do that. So wherever the distance is, we're not prepared to put that language on the plot. So it goes back to 2 things. One is, again, we're building a home on 1.095 acres. So our belief and our attorney's belief is that we do not need an architectural clearance permit. We're just saying. No. I'm not. Yeah, and
Sorry.
no, but
Sorry, this came out.
But ma'am, I mean, we met with, I flew in, I met with Paul.
Yeah.
I met with Heather. So we're, I mean, our efforts, for example, was able to get the HRDB approval with all the changes that we made. So we're not some interlocal trying to just impose their will on the city or the. So what we're gonna do is, either way, we're gonna submit our plans for the building permit to the city. And we wanna work with the city.
Which
So-
will be rejected because it doesn't
Exactly.
traditionally protect the acequia.
Exactly. So if it gets rejected because of the actions of this committee, then we will suffer damage. And we will.
It will not be rejected because of the actions of this committee, period. Nothing we do can make or break your case.
That's right.
It's what you do in your application and in adherence to city code and it's interpreted by city attorney. That's what makes it or break it. I categorically state that archaeology in Santa Fe has never stopped anything, but it has conditioned almost everything because people made appropriate decisions to do appropriate things in an appropriate order. That doesn't mean that those people who creatively moved to Sakias and whatever that I referred to didn't do us all a great insult.
Disservice.
As a service, yes.
I mean,
So,
and also
we're
with the-
trying to make it work for you and we're trying to give you the options with which to work.
if I could, I mean, the land use department, grading and drainage, train management. Nobody's gonna be, in a sense, you either have a cultural easement or you have a 30% or greater slope. It's the same area. You can't build anything on a 30% or greater slope. Sure. What's the difference between someone driving up there and saying, well, I don't care about a cultural easement and building something just because they feel like it or driving equipment on a 30% or greater slope, which is illegal, or driving it on a cultural easement, which is also illegal.
You can't see your house or your lot from the street, right? Nobody will ever know.
Right, I understand that, but I'm saying it's already, I mean, it's already there, is
No
what I'm
one
saying.
will ever know.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, it's already there, whether it's a cultural easement or a 30% or greater slope. It's there.
Do what you want, no one will ever know.
Right.
Except for the Mayordomo.
Correct.
So, but I don't, actually, I take that back. Somebody will know. Somebody will know the minute that somebody drives on that side.
Mr.
Doug and Jung, your neighbors and all your neighbors that protested your case previously to the HDRB, they all know.
Yeah, that's what
And
I'm
when you
saying.
impact their Seki and their water rights,
Huh?
then
I
you'll know.
agree. Yeah, I agree.
So then that's what you gotta live with your neighbors.
That just
You know,
And
raised
that's
an
why we're
important
back here
question.
with the whole, that's why we're back here.
There
with
is
the whole new
state
design.
law.
Yes.
But that's why we're
Do
back
you
here.
have any water rights
I
by
think,
owning this property?
I think we do, yeah.
They have to
Is that correct?
right?
Not a given.
You are
I don't know.
a partiante?
Yes, he is.
Is it Barciante? For now. You have to use them, right?
Mhm.
They do.
And I don't know if it's been used.
Well, according to the documentation presented at one time or another, I can't tell you exactly where it is. People have been running black plastic hoses all over this property for a long time. You can see them in the aerial photos. They're moving water from Setasakia down onto the property and God knows when, which split. I don't know, but somebody's been using the water a lot.
There's a 5-foot irrigation easement on either side of this property. And the two properties, the Padilla property, which would be to the west, and the other property, which would be to the northeast, are running water from the Asakia down these pipes. And they're outside the 5-foot and in the 5-foot, and that we've walked out with them and said, this needs to be straightened out. They're also
Saying some
not-
of those pipes didn't reach other properties. Some of those pipes were ending on this property before it got split up into X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So it's been used at some point by someone. It would be in everybody's best interest to document
Of the water rights.
who, when, where, why, and how. And maybe take hat in hand and go talk to the Mayordomo a lot.
And well, part of that with building on here is to get in there and develop those 5-foot easements where they should be, and that pipe where it should be, and let it go onto the acequia as it should be. Not up to me how to do that. That's up to the Meyer Domo and the ditch people. But right now, it's not being accessed the way it should be.
I would like to go back to the, whether an archaeological clearance permit is required or not. Is it required or is it not required?
It is required.
But only required if it was this 2 acres, and it's already a legal lot of record, correct? It has all the city signatures on it. So if someone had sold this to you as an acre lot, you wouldn't have had to come.
But the property was originally larger.
I hear you,
That's
but
where it
they have-
started. And even though it got approved, it is something that is required in this particular case.
How big was it before it got smaller?
It was about 2.8, 2.9 acres.
So it's above the threshold.
2.859.
it was one lot, but he has a signed plat, which makes it legal.
Or does something that is at cross purposes with existing city code become okay just because somebody said it was okay instead of actually complying with city code?
I think if he'd been a different property owner, he would
So
have assumed.
they came to this committee in 2023 for the proposed lot split. So the lot would not have been split, you know. The understanding was we understood the path forward, we understood the need to preserve the acequia. So the lot split would not have been approved if we didn't have the understanding that we were proceeding forward. And we did that discussion originally,
I see.
yeah.
There was some administrative understanding.
Actually, ma'am, that's
As
Not
part of the
approved?
monitoring plan.
not, there is no record, I mean, that's why we asked this to be removed from the agenda for this meeting, because we felt that it was unnecessary, and there is no handshake agreement about protecting the agreement, and then we will approve it, and then you will have to do something like, there's nothing like that.
So the archaeological plan was approved or not approved?
No.
Was not approved.
Nothing has
Yeah.
been approved.
Nothing's been approved. I mean, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah,
Like
no, I
you.
mean, it's just, again, but we're just trying to build a home.
We're just
Yeah.
trying to figure out.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out.
Problem is and how it's.
Yeah.
And there's,
it's
and
a
I
moving
think
target.
of paramount importance to everyone in this room is understanding that Doug is the builder while he's doing the construction process, and us as the owner, until we die, we have no intention of doing something untoward to the acequia at any point in time.
Understood, completely understood.
So
And
I really
and
want
I
to impress
believe
upon you that.
I believe it. I just, the previous 375 years and then the next 1,000 years, that's what I'm thinking about.
No,
That's
and
all.
having just come into this process, I was telling Doug at lunch yesterday, I feel like we're being penalized for something that I know nothing about, and I have no intention of doing any of that stuff. But to your point, this came up, I think, in December 7th of 2022, 23, something 22, 23. And the archaeological plan was done, but the lot split was approved, and as Ms. Wands points out, they are 2 separate lots. There are no conditions that were put on, it wasn't like, I mean, I have the approval from the HRDB, there's like 5 or 6 conditions that are contingent, that the approval is contingent on, but there's nothing. So for example, it says, I mean, it was like something about the bullnosing, and the walls need to be
Right,
bullnosed.
right.
There are conditions that were
Well,
written,
that's for the building.
but there was nothing like that for the lot split, is what I'm saying. There isn't
Right,
something like these blue, approved scope of work, and then it says, all exterior conditions shall be
No, I read
bullnosed. So then,
So the lot
Yeah.
split approval has nothing to do with this. You started the process where it triggered the ordinance. The other key here is that you will not be able to apply for a building permit or get a building permit until which time this situation is resolved. You have no approval in place. The lot split had not been approved when this case was brought in, and we're still treating it as the fact that you don't have an approval yet. So, and in the future, we're not going to record lot splits until which time we have all of the archaeological review done, just for reference to the committee.
Thank you for that.
And Chair Eck, if I could, I think it's important to consider the city code provision regarding archaeological clearance permit. It simply reads, in this district, that is River and Trails Archaeological Review District, an archaeological clearance permit shall be required prior to approval of the final development plan or plat for the following projects: annexations, rezoning, subdivisions, planned unit developments, or other development requiring approval by the planning commission, having over 2 acres, or having any part lying within the area identified as the Santa Fe Trail. So we believe that any development either requiring approval by the planning commission, or having over 2 acres, or having any part lying within the area identified as the Santa Fe Trail, it falls into one of those 3 categories. An archaeological clearance permit is required, but nothing about this code provision refers to lot as the controlling size. It indicates the plat is, if the way I read this, shall be required prior to approval of the final development plan or plat for the following projects. And it's clear that the plat, which is defined as the map, chart, survey plan, or replat certified by a professional land surveyor that contains a description of subdivided land with ties to permanent monuments. The plat clearly shows almost 3 acres. Lot size is not referenced in the code at all.
Ms. Bechtel, can I just
Yeah.
make one point?
Yeah.
So that's the point that I read as well, Laura. So I've taken some English classes. There's a comma after requiring approval by the planning commission, comma, having over 2 acres, comma, or having any part lying within the area identified as the Santa Fe Trail. So that's an apposition. So what that does is it puts a condition on that sentence of having to be approved by the planning commission and either lying on the Santa Fe Trail or having been over 2 acres.
We defer to our council's interpretation, so.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're having a conversation. That's all. So, so that's and so does that mean every development, let's just say you're building on like a 1.2 acre lot, does that require an archaeological clearance permit?
Depends on where it is.
Chair Eck,
Yes, sir.
there is now a known cultural resource identified by the paid archaeologist to do this lot split archaeological survey. We all know that there's an archaeological resource here. We are here to preserve this archaeological resource. So how do we do so? At the same time, how do we get this home constructed for the homeowner? The homeowner has clearly stated he's not going to do anything for the archaeological resource and he's going to build his home regardless. So we know that there is,
Oh, that's not true.
you just stated that, sir. You just shared with the ARC that you're going to move for permit and that's what you're going to do. So given that that's your motion, that's what you're moving towards, we will then look towards the state, to the state of the engineer's office for preservation of the Acequia. We know that there's a cultural site here that needs to be mitigated and protected. So then, if we need to go for ARPA or any kind of other federal state guidelines for this archaeological resource, we will, and we'll move in that direction if that's the case that we need to.
So he's telling me to quote Ms. Bechtel, screw off. Okay, that's fine. I mean,
Well, let's not go there. You said you're not going to touch the 30% slope.
No.
But you've also said
We
you're
can't,
not
we really
willing
can't.
to put an archaeological preservation easement on the same piece of dirt. Why?
for 30% slope.
It's expensive. Right? When you have to pay an attorney to write the easement and you have to find, donate money to TPL or Santa Fe Conservation Trust or someone to hold the easement. So someone has to hold the easement and then they have to come look at it. And I mean, it's an expense.
I actually didn't even know about the expense. It was just, I'm sort of quasi libertarian, any sort of a condition that I don't have any control over. I mean, I still believe that it does create a conflict with the authority that's already there, which is the Safety Association and the Mayor Domo. Because it's the only one, so if this was the last part, for example, if this was the last parcel along the Acequia that didn't have a cultural preservation easement, that would be potentially something, I'd say to Carla, hey, everyone else has contributed to this cultural preservation, so maybe we should do that. But it's the only one that's being requested.
Because it's being redeveloped. I hear you. I'm just,
And also, if we could go back, pardon me, where we're asking for this point of this studio or what, casita, or whatever you want to call it, in the back there, is not in 30% slopes. It's not in the slope of that
yeah, I
area.
understood that.
Yeah.
It's not in the toe of the slope.
No,
It's not.
it's a way for it.
And we,
I mean-
what I'm seeing is that, or what I've heard up till this point in all the meetings we've been, is how are we going to protect the Acequia? And from my point of view and how I've worked over the years is how do I physically protect this Acequia? Well, before, during, and after I'm working on the property. And that's we came forward with the plan of how do we keep people off of it? Where do we park people? Where do we put materials? How do we access the site? All those sort of things. And where does this site sit? And when we're talking about creating a cultural easement, it really isn't affecting what we're proposing at this point either.
So, Heather, I have some questions. So how could the city itself do, and this is for future, not for you, don't worry. How could the city protect its acequias better? So that truly the homeowner or the landowner doesn't, that somehow it's flagged by something.
Could require a safety protection plan, part of the application.
When it's on the official plat of record, and if
Right.
that it's preserved and they try to do something and build in that area,
Mhm.
it would be,
So
But even-
on the plat, we could just call it a no build zone, just like. we
well,
do
that's what the
30%.
language says,
Yeah,
It already is.
It already
it
is.
already is a no build
But-
zone.
but it
I mean,
doesn't
we
say.
do these sort of things
Does
like
not
these
say that.
protections on every site.
I mean-
Even if it's not required, even if it's.
I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about
Right.
legally.
Right, I'm saying, I mean, maybe these sites need, anywhere that's along the Acequia has to have a safety protection
Sort of
plan.
like a
That's part
stormwater.
of it, that somebody has to review.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's not required,
Mhm.
but we would have done it, but
And
when it came up, what are you gonna do to protect this Acequia? It's like, well, here.
And Ms. Beckel, I mean, maybe we could, you were saying, well, our Chair Eck was asking, like, what do you lose? You can't build on it anyway. So, why not do that? So, I mean, we'd be happy to write that we will not build on the 30, on the building permit submittal, that we will not build on any
Well,
30%.
already says that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's not-
but we won't. I mean, so
Yeah.
that's,
I know,
and.
I know you won't because Doug is building your house.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something, and it's one of the things I do want to, like, we don't want to be characterized, I mean, we really do care, and that's why I'm here, to present our case, and we've hired a really good builder with a great reputation. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish without recourse to a cultural preservation easement or anything binding like that. And then without having to donate, in terms of an easement, something like 0.4 and 40% of our buildable land, which
It's
is.
not buildable if it's in 30% slope.
No, but
It's not buildable if it's in 30%.
absolutely,
slope.
but the tape measure that you
You're saying
saw
we
was
would
another,
go within
10 feet.
Yeah.
That was being
Right.
requested, so that's almost
Well, I mean,
40%.
if you have an arroyo on your site, there is a setback from the edge of the arroyo. So I think that's 25 feet from
We
the
don't
edge of
have
the
that.
arroyo. Well, we could we could change the rules and, I mean, so I'm just saying, everybody wants to protect the acequia. We want you to build your home. We want to move forward and we're just trying to, I'm thinking out loud at this
Well,
point.
I also very much like the I helped write the escarpment ordinance
Right.
originally.
Yeah,
And what we could realize is you can't come up with one package for the whole thing, because every site is different. And when you move along this acequia, all the way down to where it goes back, dumps into the arroyo next to the old Padilla farm there, it's different everywhere. Sometimes it's below, sometimes it's above, sometimes it's got people, houses right up against it, literally, that are leaking water. And so it's really, your question was, well, I've always asked it, why isn't there something here that's required for me to say, how are you gonna protect this?
yeah. I mean, in my
Because we
neighborhood,
just do it, and when I see people not doing it, I go,
Yeah.
it's awful.
well, in my neighborhood, which is on the other side of the Indian school, they built on top of the acequia.
But I mean, it's a requirement, I think, that is not so much an easement as it is a protection. How does the person applying for this permit protect this? What's your protection plan?
But that's only the immediate. I think what we're talking about
Is down the road.
But you can't, nobody can prevent. Nobody can.
Well,
I mean, nobody can prevent somebody driving up on an easement.
no. This is it talks
Or a
about,
30% slope.
talks about building on it, not,
Right, but I mean, if it's a 30% or greater slope, you can't get a permit to build on. Period.
well, I mean, the reason I recommend is because it has to be on the official plat of record, so somebody down the road takes it in, they want to build, and then it says you can't build, in this area because it's a
Yeah.
reservation easement.
But that, once again, I'm saying if the land use has a thing that addresses the acequia, that they know once a property comes in that has an acequia on it, and there's some things we need to pay attention to.
Except personnel changes, Doug,
Yeah.
So,
But it's a moving target because it's different on every property.
but we're talking about this property.
Yes, we are, and I think that
So,
I think it's being addressed.
so the plat that I'm looking at, the approved, this one doesn't have signatures on it. But I assume there is one that has signatures on it.
There is.
It says, I can almost read it. There's a book and page of what this acequia is listed in. Is there a book and page on that?
The book and page of the acequia?
No, it says 12-foot acequia easement, book, 5/23, page 003.
So it's a recorded.
But it's
easement.
12
Those
feet.
are the two, there's different easements that the Diaz and the other people have to get up to the acequia, so they can get that water that we were talking
Right.
about. That goes through the flexible pipes that are laying. around.
This is language that's referring to the acequia, not to these property bounding 5-foot acequias. Thank you for being able to read that. Magnifying glass.
I remember reading the easements.
So,
So can I make a motion?
well, if you feel like you have a motion to make, go for it and we'll see what happens.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to, I just need to drink water. So, I move in this case, this number, whatever this number is.
2023-7484.
Thank you. That we, approve the archaeological report. Noting that the, center line of the acequia and its easement are protected by, plat, of survey. In addition, we note that the acequia is protected because there is a consistent 30% slope across both lots, lot 1B2 and lot 1B1, which I'm including in both in my motion. So that both lots are not only protected by the easement's protected on both lots as well as the 30% slope as a no-build zone, both because it's illegal to build over 30% and also because that is the toe of the slope that's protecting the acequia that has been formed over the last 400 years or 275 or however many years. Yeah, so I'm moving for approval based on that motion.
Based on, can I just clarify so that it's very, so the existing easement on the plat is for 12 feet from either side of the center line, correct? But then there's for the,
No,
6 feet,
total.
6 feet.
Sorry. Oh, it's 12 foot total.
Yeah.
So, talking about 12-foot wide strip. And then separately, the 30%. So,
As long as
And then
12%,
one more question. When you put that garden wall in, what instrument are you using to do that?
You mean the digging of this wall? We will use a mini excavator to do that work back there, and we'll reach in and pull back. And the same thing there, we will come up to this corner, park here, we will reach into this corner, we'll pull back, we'll do these foundations, we'll build that wall, we'll backfill and compact. And then we'll make sure the fence will already be here, coming all along here to keep people off of there. That'll be a no access zone, no parking, no people, no lunches, no anything like that.
You're also gonna build like a wire, a fence along the area to make sure that it doesn't.
Correct, well,
Right,
we're-
that.
yeah, and we're also doing fence so people come down here and park on the neighbor's property too. I mean, all these things happen, it's just part of building.
Heather.
I know it's a motion, I shouldn't speak, but I do have a concern that we are guesstimating on incomplete information on the plat. And, I would highly recommend to the committee one of two things. Either they come back with a section drawing and specifically illustrating where the construction is going to occur, or they have, an archaeologist, they have Ron Winters on site to monitor that it won't be disturbed.
that covers two different situations, both of which are on different branches of the tree that Galen just walked up to and whacked with the axe. We have a motion.
and I would include those as friendly amendments
Okay.
to my motion, just so we can just,
We're saying either or.
and then we'll
No.
start doing an.
No, I mean.
No, Because
So-
one friendly amendment to that motion means we can't approve this thing because we don't have the friendly thing requested.
Right,
Um,
but
So,
But the other amendment could be friendly,
Yeah.
if they hire Ron to monitor the protection of these things.
so can we now discuss? Can I know?
well,
Is there
we
a
can
second?
discuss
I
anytime.
guess it
We're
hasn't been
Still
seconded.
fishing for the second.
I have a second, okay.
You have something to offer.
Yes, just so if we're going to move forward, we would have to, with the motion, I would like a cleaner
Sure.
motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll just go ahead and scratch the motion that's on the floor and let's go ahead and give a clean one when we're ready to do so for
Oh.
meeting per minutes purposes.
Are we that close?
No idea.
Will you let me know?
Can you replay that motion? You
Yeah.
might be able to come back up with that?
Okay. When you're ready.
I move to approve this plan, this archaeological plan. With, archaeological monitoring during the foundation phase of this construction. With the knowledge that this acequia is protected by both an easement that is platted, that we haven't seen, granted, the final plat, and that it's protected by 30% slopes based on the topographic map that we saw.
Is that something you're willing to do? I think that has to be
Hold on.
before it's a
Or could you
motion.
say on archaeologist?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just, yeah.
Okay, archaeologists and
Qualified.
archaeologists, thank you.
Qualified in the
Yeah,
downtown.
qualified,
Oh, in
in
the
the-
suburban rivers and trails.
right,
Yeah.
in the appropriate district, an
Right.
archaeologist in the,
To monitor the protection of the acequia during the construction process.
So we have a skeleton of a motion. But we're in discussion mode, because we have not gotten a second, and I will ask for further discussion when we do get a second, if we get a second, but I would just offer that we would be pursuing a motion based on something we don't have. We do not have a cross-section of this whole thing that shows property line, slope, acequia, bank, slope, of part A, part B, part C, down to whatever is natural. We don't have that.
we do have that in plan, you just don't have it in section. But that
I agree,
topographic
there's a plan.
analysis, topographic analysis tells me where their house is and where they can't be and where they can be. So in my mind, I have this process.
In my mind, we have exactly half of what we need.
Yeah.
The surveyor who did this, his family owned this property for generations. And he's a friend of mine, but he came up and explained where different things had happened and how he came up with these things on the survey of what the family had done, what they had not done, and where they had worked on the acequia over the years and those types of things.
Any other discussion? Anyone willing to second the motion? We have moved and seconded. This is your last chance for further discussion. As I understand the motion, we're going to approve this thing with existing protections conveyed by plats and restrictions on slope activities, coupled with some as yet undefined locations of fencing to protect, and coupled with promise that we're not going to do anything up there or anything that will affect the acequia. So everybody's clear. That's my understanding of what we have. Rebecca.
I would like to ask, as a condition of final approval, that you'll come back with the section and a plan showing your house on the topographic map.
Then I would offer that it makes more sense to postpone until a date certain when we have said section and we'll have everything in our hands and can actually see, feel, taste, and if someone wants to, they can eat the paper. I'll volunteer to eat the paper.
And the city does, that has been submitted.
Submitted.
That concurs with that.
Sure, and including the plat. Is that correct?
The approved plat.
Yes.
Don't you have the approved plat? Didn't I see it up there?
Yeah.
No, you have the approved plat. We didn't have it, but you have it.
Right, what's in this report is prior to signature,
Right.
which is
So that'll be
Important
part
to
of this
know.
application packet.
With the cultural preservation easement on that plat, is that correct?
Mhm.
nobody's
there's
talking about a
already-
cultural preservation easement at this point.
There's already an easement that protects the acequia
Okay.
on the plat.
Chair, sorry, go ahead. Could I, it's, could we don't know who's gonna be could we, if the motion's been forwarded and seconded, could we make it instead of delaying it, could we make the approval of the motion contingent on review of the drawing as opposed to us providing the drawing? That's kind of what happened at HRDB. They were asking
And
approval, sure.
which means an approval now is not an approval then if we don't approve it then. So why do it? It doesn't make sense to take a step down a path and promise something that is possibly not going to be approved. Let's
Okay.
just get what we need, and then we'll either approve it or not. Point, we all have what we need. Staff needs what they need. I need a nice readable plat and a nice readable image of said plat with all that elevation stuff on it. And I need a section drawing across this thing of a known place. A prime, the usual. That is what I need. I don't have that. So as you can tell, I'm arguing that we are premature.
I withdraw my motion and ask for those things and to be approved at a later date.
So the minutes will say the approval has been, I mean, the motion has been withdrawn pending,
Those documents.
pending those documents. Is that fair, Derek?
That's a fair summation.
Okay.
Normally, we want a date certain that this can happen. So can this happen by our next meeting?
September 26th is our next hearing.
And
How
the
about
legal
that?
deadline for that is
September,
September 10th.
You already have this, existing.
Sounds
You
like
don't
you already
have to
have
hire
everything.
a surveyor.
Yeah, it's a survey, so it's just literally be, I'm assuming you want to see it at the point that's the closest to that corner. So when we're cutting, it'll look like a section.
That seems
And
reasonable.
then the one that just to be completely transparent, you probably want it at the closest point of contact to the acequia. When we take that cut of the land.
And since this is all digital, it's silly to talk about one section. There's two places where distance from is of concern. Two. Corner of the building.
Sure.
And the curve of the wall.
Okay.
So one each.
So submit that by September 26th, and I'll see you guys on
September
10th, September 10th, and I'll see you guys again on September 26th.
Yes, yes, can I?
This here.
You go
Yeah.
first, you first.
I would suggest, I'm not telling you to do it, but I would suggest that when you put everything in, discuss the width of the wall, discuss the likelihood of vibrations, because if you're using a smaller machine, which is what you're saying you're doing, and you're coming in a different way,
Yeah, I don't use,
then well, I know, I get
yeah,
that.
we don't use backhoes because they
Right.
make a mess.
But
Stating it
that's really important, because an 18-inch bucket versus
Yeah.
an
And a
8-inch,
big excavator is
yeah,
very different than a
it's
backhoe.
extremely different, and the vibration is different, and the damage it can do is different.
And we're basically presenting a visual representation, a sectional cut of the land and the building, which you felt comfortable visualizing, but
So-
Chair Ag is not comfortable.
And the next one is,
And
the
next one.
equipment we're using.
So like, say, here's your safety, yeah, you're gonna take points down the line and then rebuild.
In your site plan showing, the topo.
The fish, slice of cheese.
Two places. Cut,
The site plan is the whole thing.
oh,
You already have it in the plan.
a site plan on the topo.
You already have.
so the motion has been withdrawn. The case is going to be postponed to the next date certain. The applicant is gonna provide the site plan, including topographics and the wall and the structure on the property with the details requested by member ones
2 cross sections.
and
Two
2 cross sections. Is that clear?
Sure.
So at this point, this case is on hold until. So
Also, I would recommend a wall, probably built, because the wall just goes now, it goes straight up.
yeah,
That's why I was
That's
asking,
what she was
that's
asking.
why I was
Wall
asking
section,
about
wall section.
footings and.
So detail of the wall
earlier.
section.
Yeah, the foundation.
Okay.
showing what needs to be excavated, to create foundations, yada, yada.
And you probably want of the casita and the retaining wall,
Yeah.
right? The details of those two. Okay, we'll provide that.
If I'm correct.
To that area, anything that's close to that area that isn't question.
If I'm correct, the concept that was proposed but withdrawn of having it supervised by an archaeologist of some type, that's us addressing that Paul feels that there's a danger to building what we're building, and so we're addressing that concern in that way.
Yeah.
Is that right? All right,
That
just want to
is-
make sure that we're.
Yeah.
That is
I
a
mean,
means of cultural archaeological mitigation.
Thank you.
It's-
So that
Proceeding
one,
under the close watchful eye of someone who is empowered to say,
Stop.
I just wanted to say it so we're all clear.
And so it's two different timelines. You want to see the drawings, so you feel more comfortable about the approval of the motion. And then you would like someone, maybe Ron or not, to approve it during the construction process after the approval, because you want to be comfortable that good things are happening.
a
while
means
we're
of verifying
Right,
that
it's
good
just.
things did
Some,
happen.
somebody's there to say, and it protects you as
Very
well.
very reasonable.
Yeah, because staff flagged it. They said, oh, it's too close. So we're like, okay, maybe not, but.
Let's take a look at the drawings.
No,
Then if you feel comfortable with that, then let's make sure they're doing the right things afterwards.
I think you've been very reasonable.
We really appreciate it. I had no intention of saying the F word, or I had none.
And I apologize.
Well, I'm the one who always does.
It comes out of my mouth regularly. And Kim, he's been in the field with me.
Thank you, gentlemen. You have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here. Really.
September 10th submittal, and then we'll see you on September 26th. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you,
And since you're sort of hanging fire.
Thank you.
too,
thank you.
I guess-
Well,
Good night.
Just in case of questions, you should be around. Thank you. Good luck.
No, I just wanted, I just didn't feel like I got my say, about this. Before I submitted, I talked to Paul about what he. Can I not talk? No?
Oh,
You,
I
I'm
think,
debating whether you should just
I
climb up.
think it might be out of term because we're not actually discussing the case
Yeah,
or that.
I didn't feel like I got the chance to say my piece, but, yeah,
All right. Another time then.
okay.
You'll have another chance.
Moving on to what is classified as new business. Case number 20248697. Ron Winters, agent for Santa Fe Civic Housing Authority, applicant, requests approval of an archaeological inventory and monitoring plan for the installation of approximately 1,800 feet of subsurface electric, gas, sewer, and water utility lines at 1111 Ocate Road in the Suburban Archaeological Review District. Thank you for the staff report. Paul, anything?
No, Chair.
Thank you, Ron, you're still sworn in. What else do? we
I recommended to survey the whole property prior to monitoring. Just because, I said purportedly, there were archaic sites found, or archaic site found, in the vicinity. And, that report, actually, as I stated, was not approved. But I still want to err on the side of, caution, in that area. But, other than that, no, I don't have anything else.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, what did you say in here, what your estimate of the percent of the ground surface is available for said survey? Is it virtually all of it?
All of it, yeah, I think I said I'd survey the whole,
What, you said you're gonna survey the whole thing, I was worried about what percentage was really visible.
no,
It's up.
yeah, there is
There's no,
there's a couple trailers or something on it, but other than that, no, it's all, yeah.
okay. Members of the committee.
I have no comments.
Can you put on this Aerial photograph?
A lot,
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Oh, it's not.
See that little toe there? Here's these two, these are just the trailers,
Okay,
but the primarily, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
the whole lot is.
so maybe, circle that for me.
Okay, yeah, but no, I planned on.
Yeah.
On doing the whole,
And then you mentioned the Santa Fe River in your cultural historical expectations.
yeah,
How close are we to the river?
we're away, so we're a couple miles, 3 miles maybe, but I also, Hannaford talks about, okay,
Mhm.
sites and, yeah, I expanded what I would normally
Okay.
do on that, just because of what was found prior. But yes, I could tighten it up a little bit.
All I have.
I'm just very happy that you decided the circle first is a good idea.
Oh, yeah,
Also. Unless. Everybody's vacuumed the surface of that thing, if there is. Archaic things in the area. You will find it.
yeah. It doesn't look to have been too disturbed. I just made a drive-by and got out and, to get a GPS for the center point, but, it only looks like that southern extent where those trailers are. I think one of them is being used as a church. But I imagine these will go, but it hasn't impacted much of the
No.
lot.
It looks like there are a couple, off-road vehicle tracks or.
Yeah,
something
yeah,
through
I
it,
didn't
but-
really explore too much, too far out.
Given the size of the property, will you do your usual close order transects?
Yeah, I do in this, I don't. I'll save the 15 meter for 1,000 acre survey in Redstone.
Very good. Very good. That is all. Someone want to make a motion?
Okay. Case 2024-8697, I move to approve the archaeological inventory monitoring plan is submitted. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Fine.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We will move on to case number 2024-8869. Ron Winters, agent for Alexander Zuniga, applicant requests approval for an archaeological inventory report of 15.73 acres for the proposed lot split at 3774 Alameda Street in the River and Trails and Suburban Archaeological Review District. Staff report. Paul, anything to add to this? No, sir. Ron. Bill. Under oath.
So this was a interesting parcel. I mean, I was, on high alert about its proximity to, LA2 and those sites. The guy, Souter, his, let's see, grandfather, great-grandfather, the original. This is a relative, Zuniga is. He tried to get some information from his grandfather about his great-grandfather, because there was junk all over the place. I mean, and you see that photo that Murphy came up with the cars. He had car dealerships and then, of course, the Toyota dealership here. But there was, I guess he was a pilot. And there was the skeletal remains of a plane. There were pieces of, it looked like just for the steel, a press, a bucket from, a backhoe, or a large piece of equipment. I thought that it was kind of fun, to find, I think that's a motto, it's not a matate based on the shape and the size, but it's broken, but it's probably two-handed. the single shirt, that the tin was interesting. To find then on the chicken coop. I think I included that, and then all those trusses. He couldn't tell me how long they'd been there or, when they were hauled in. I would have liked to know where they had come from. But, I just indulge myself. I included my field sketch of those trusses.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I wish I'd had more information, but Alexander didn't know where, he said there were a couple of trailers that were full of steel pipe, so apparently this guy was stockpiling steel, for years. To be used, how it is, I'll find a use for that someday. But, that's it. I used John on this one too, because I thought it was good to, get a full story of it, or as elite, a full story as we could. The artifacts that they originally recorded in the survey that identified that acequia, I didn't find them. I did find a piece of, amethyst glass in the vicinity of the acequia. I thought it was interesting that in their survey, they have no IOs in this area. I certainly found stuff, but I think they were
What are IOs?
isolated
Oh,
occurrences.
yeah.
Yeah, these are,
Geez. yeah.
objects, and you see some of them illustrated.
It's unfortunately true that some people just don't seem to see isolates.
Yeah, and it was, the variety was interesting, stuff that but anyway, that's all.
Okay. Many members, Michael Bechtel.
So where is the acequia on this, aerial photograph?
That is right. No, that's pretty. No,
Oh, it's that one?
no.
No.
See where it's when if I see this faint line,
Oh, okay.
and they say, I took photographs.
Oh, and I guess you can kind of see it going this way.
Yeah, but it's very faint at this point. It's silted in. It hasn't been used, I think at 54 or something. But it's hardly visible, even in the aerial, but certainly on the ground. There's a road on both sides. That cut through the acequia, so it's not visible. So I looked beyond that to see. And when you see the photographs of the ones taken in the project area, you can hardly discern it, it's there, but it's pretty faint.
So based on what we just went through, what do you think we should do about this acequia?
Well, this is a lot split, but I certainly would recommend,
It's already been determined eligible under D.
yeah,
And potentially
Yeah.
eligible under A and C, so it is by HPD.
Right.
So
so I would recommend to the client to do an official, preservation easement on it,
I mean, I'm confused by, can we do that?
I reckon,
you can't make somebody put an easement on their property. That'd be the government taking somebody's property.
But he can recommend it all.
Yeah.
He can recommend that.
and I think this is right now just a lot split, but I think that I would, talk to Alexander and say, the importance, and you can't say abandon because, you don't know. I mean, whether it would be, revived, in the future. But it doesn't hurt if there's development ever on that property to have that in place.
But it's also now essentially protected
Yeah.
because it's an eligible site. It's been officially
But I
by the state determined eligible. So
It's-
it doesn't have full protection, it's not on the national register, but
so it would need to be on the official plat of record with that language that we were discussing.
So it can go on a plat.
I would put it on the plan. I mean, yeah. I'm not gonna get into that, but
Okay.
it's about future protection. It's not about
I know.
here and now.
Yeah.
It's about that it's on the plat, so if somebody wanted to build and they take their official plat and they say, well, there's a preservation easement, you can't build
Mhm.
on this strip of land where the safety is.
Since it's not active, it won't show up on a plat as a Sakia until we tell them it's there.
Yeah. And I would, as I recommended, would, put the
Put it on
language,
there.
but also
Okay.
the number, so it's identified.
So that's what this process does for that. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was my question was.
That's it?
Hmm?
Okay.
So what I was going to, say is that you don't actually have that it was determined eligible by SHPO in this document at all.
Oh, I thought I said it was eligible under A and D, and I concurred with that.
Somewhere I read that piece.
Maybe it's in NIA, but I did remember that I,
Here on page 29.
Okay, that's it on 29?
Okay.
that's the original recording, but I
Oh, the
do,
side is recommended, not
But-
the.
yeah, but I do say somewhere else, and maybe it's in the NIAF that it was recommended as under A and D, and basis for recommendation, I agreed, with the previous recommendation.
Right, so the recommendation is from the previous reporter, but the determination was made by HPD that it's
Oh,
eligible.
Okay, okay.
And that happens at a specific time and or specific date. And so you could note that it
It's-
was determined eligible under these criteria by on such a date.
It's in NMCRIS, but it's HPD log number 109686.
Is 109686.
It was
Okay,
on 9/9/2019,
okay.
determined eligible under D. And then the notes say it's potentially also eligible under A and C. So that makes the difference between
Hmm.
contractors saying, hey, we think this is important versus. Sorry.
Yeah, it's, yeah. Absolutely. I can, do it in the site description and in the NIA. Like,
Cause and then this, you have this wording that's a little,
clunky.
yeah. Cause you have archaeological survey revealed one significant cultural resource. LA 137512 within the project's parcel and 10 isolated occurrences. The property was not found to hold potential for contributing additional information on the prehistory or history of San Fe County.
So I need to,
So archaeological clearance for the proposed lot split is recommended with the recommendation that they be avoided.
So, yeah, you kind of
I'll,
all over the map there.
what page was that?
So it's on page 6, but it actually shows up a couple other places, which I only marked it on page 6.
Okay.
But essentially, everywhere the discussion is offered,
Yeah.
it has that unfortunate reversal of perspective in the middle sentence.
Probably late, it's probably late.
So it helps to sleep sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
That was about my 2 cents.
Okay. Okay, time for the nitpicker. Staff report and the agenda say 15.73 acres, which also occurs on the first page of your abstract form,
Oh,
but
it's 15.764.
on the third page, it varies for reasons I don't know. So fix that.
Are you looking at page 2 in the abstract and I have the wrong?
First, that number first occurs on page 3 of your NIAF.
Oh,
NIAF being an interest investigation abstract form. Management summary, second line has 15764, as does the second sentence of your own abstract on page 2.
right.
So
I don't know where I got that.
my immediate question is what happened to the other tiny little acres? Which led me to wonder about a lot split, which led me to wonder where is it actually being split?
I didn't get the map, but I think it's what I understand from Alexander is the house from the rest of the lot. I mean, that area surrounding the house on the north.
So the part by Iowa Freeway will be split from.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can, I'll get a
Getting sold for
plat.
subdivision.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's probably getting sold for subdivision.
Oh, yeah, well, and hence really the important need for, that easement.
Yes.
Well, like, Algafria down the other way, 2774 or what, no, that 2775. Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, cause.
he didn't relay to me any plans, immediate plans, but yeah, I don't know. The smells of that.
and this just makes me uncomfortable. We're presented with something for a lot split and we have no
Right.
idea what's being split.
Yeah, no, and I didn't have anything to provide, yeah.
So shouldn't we ask for that?
But you don't know when,
If I were the king of the world, I'd kick it right back to the proponent, the owner, and say, what are you splitting? We can't do anything until you tell us what you're splitting from what.
yeah, I mean, I can see if I can get a plat and give it to admin, I mean, if you want. All I got was, what you saw. A lot of times I can get from the client, what they plan on doing.
Well, let me just keep going and think
Yeah.
about that for a while.
Okay,
Page 17, previous research. Nice table of all the previous surveys, but I didn't think I saw an actual clear statement that said this one goes right through the middle of my survey area, and this other one immediately tangent to it. It'd be nice to talk about the proximity of those surveys beyond just the fact that they're within 500 meters.
I thought I did someplace that.
You may have, I just
Yeah,
didn't see
I
it
think
on
I
page
did talk
17.
about, I think I did talk about, especially the one where the Ezekiel was reported. I think somewhere, I'll have to look.
Yeah, we might get to that. I've got some more flags. Page 29. Your text discussing the site. First paragraph. Fourth line, I just happened to notice this. It's an unfortunate financial magazine name appearing in that sentence when what you mean is FORBS for Forbes. Ditch the E. Same paragraph next to the last line, the site cannot possibly measure 146 meters by 30 centimeters. It's gotta have a third dimension, which shows up later. You say it varies from 50 to 75 centimeters wide.
Yeah.
I would say that's a feature within the site, and it is not site boundaries, because as we talked about earlier, when you dig a ditch, you throw the dirt somewhere, and that's part of the archaeology.
Berm to berm, you're talking about? Or outside,
So,
toe to toe, yeah.
so The little depression you see, that's the remnant of the infilled ditch channel,
Mhm.
might be 50 to 75 centimeters wide, but I guarantee you the thing, as it was created, is wider. And thinking ahead to the craziness of plat showing center line of the ditch and magically 6 feet either side includes everything. I don't agree. And so I'd rather know from the archaeologist how big he thinks the thing is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Than what a guy running a machine.
Hence, I felt like I didn't get my say.
No,
Yeah.
no, trust me, I care more about your observation and physical representation of the thing we're talking about than
Yeah,
numbers on paper.
okay.
Page 42, your summary and recommendation. Last two paragraphs, again, bother me because there seems to be this yes, no, it is and it isn't going on. There's no way in heck you exhausted the research potential of this acequia by field recording. And so that sentence just doesn't make sense.
Got it.
Especially when you say it's significant and you need to protect it. If it was exhausted, and truly was exhausted, who cares? But it's got
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah, no,
It
I,
hasn't been exhausted. It's great that you don't want to do any further work at the site because it's nice to leave it alone. If we can put it in an easement and leave it be, then there's no reason to dig a hole for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All of
certainly
it's
that
right
last
there.
paragraph, can-
And then
Yeah.
avoid it, yes, that all makes sense.
but also the easement. Yeah.
Back in your site form. The third page is your project location map for the site. I realize you show on the plat where this site is, but it's generally a really good idea to put the site location on that 1 to 24,000 map. That is your project location map as well, so that everybody can see where it is by looking at the piece of paper. They'll see where it is when they look at Nimcris once you get it into the system, but
It's in the,
the paper doesn't show it.
right, no, it's in the GIS. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something in the GIS, but isn't that from somebody else?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so your observations as to its true dimensions may vary.
yeah, the dimensions certainly, but I mean, it is shown.
Yeah, so you can upload your own opinion as to the dimensions, and that will be useful. And I know the previous recorders were sloppy about how they talked about eligibility too.
It wasn't just me.
Well, people get all backwards and forwards on this stuff.
Yeah,
Just go ahead and make a recommendation.
got it.
Don't parse it with, oh, well, maybe. Because the determination varies from everybody's recommendation.
Yeah,
The determination says D and maybe A and C.
see there.
Recommendation 1 was A, C, and D. I'm done. And recommendation 2 was A and C and not D. What the heck are you talking about? It's a chunk of dirt.
Got it,
The data potential has to be in the dirt.
got it.
A and C are the icing on the cake. So that overt recognition that it's been determined, as Member Wong's pointed out, is always helpful for you.
Got it.
That is all.
Points taken.
Someone want to make a motion? Our options at this point, if we truly want to know what's being split from what, is to kick the can down the road or prevail upon the applicant to withdraw the thing and self-kick it down the road, or make that detail a required submittal to staff, and they will communicate to us at some point.
I'd say door C.
Based on the last case, why wouldn't we ask for more information?
That's sort of where I'm going. It'd be nice to be consistent. Because I, for one, would love to see it. And then if, in the interim, your discussions with the landowner bear fruit with, oh yeah, we'll put an easement on it, well then, let's all wait until the easement is on it, so we can see the darn plat, and we can do it one time.
So I'm going to postpone this case. Okay, 8869, until we have the lot split plat or a, yeah, drawing showing what they're actually splitting.
Second the motion.
Okay. That same date certain is September 26th.
Sixth.
So submittal would have to be September 10th.
Right.
So the main things are the lot split plat and, see if we can get, I can get that easement on there, prior.
It would be nice to do it prior, but if we have assurance it's gonna happen, we
Yeah.
can make it conditional upon staff receiving
Okay,
the darn official plat with signatures showing said easement. You know, we have some leeway, and we trust these guys for a reason, I hope.
and the measurement, exact measurement of the from toe to toe.
Yeah.
And clean up that language about the determination. And let's see what else.
Those in two places. Well, three probably because LA farm as
Yeah,
well.
I think it's on all
Okay.
three.
Okay. And is there anything else? I think that's. Make recommendations stated succinctly.
Okay, if you've got all your notes,
I got
we
it.
have moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Case goes on for the next meeting. Moving on to case number. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Nora.
Sorry.
2024-8694. SWCA, Agent for Public Service Company in New Mexico, PNM, applicant requests approval for an environmental monitoring plan for the installation of approximately 934 feet of subsurface electric utility lines near 920 Shoot Flash Street along Flagman Way and Railpan Road in the Suburban Archaeological Review District. Boy, that's a mouthful. Thank you for the staff report. Paul, anything else with this?
No, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, have a pointer. Need
Please,
to be identified and sworn in.
please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Adam Sullins, 312 Pacific Avenue, Southwestern Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87102.
Thank you, Adam. Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, and do this under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Been sworn in.
The floor is yours. If we need to know something new and different, tell us. Otherwise, we'll just cruise ahead.
Okay. I do have one additional observation on page 21 on the aerial imagery. Just southeast of the intersection of the two project corridors, there appears to be some sort of infrastructure there. It could be a rail car on the 1960 image. However, on the 1981 image, it looks like there's a couple more shadows there, but it appears to represent some small structures, possibly sheds or something. I'm not exactly not exactly sure what they would be. They don't look like buildings as they normally appear in aerial imagery. So I'm thinking that it's a cluster of sheds or maybe a rail car or something there. However, by the 2023 image, you could see that it's been demolished by the alignment of Rail Fan Road. So just wanted to point that out,
Mhm. Yeah,
but I have nothing else to add.
alrighty. Member Beckwith.
Is this the P and M ditch that they were talking about in the newspaper?
And the ditch.
So the P and M was going to, there's some contamination, there's a diesel plume that they're trying to protect. Trying to keep it, and so they halted some of their excavation that they were going to be doing,
Huh.
according to the newspaper.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I was just wondering how this relates, because it is P and M.
It's in that area.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, and
I
this is
imagine there's plumes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the far north end of your project, it bumps right up into the focal point of that plume.
Interesting.
The facilities that did all the leakage for on that.
I guess
piece of
it's up
property to
here,
the
isn't
north.
it? Yeah.
And the plume is spread way to the south, all over this,
Yeah, it's really bad.
south and west.
Wow.
As far as I know, it has not moved east, so nobody is making a genius proposal to build a monitoring well in the middle of Fairview or New Oddfellows Cemetery.
Wow.
Keep an eye out for that, just in case somebody comes up with that bright idea. So, anything else?
That was my question, and then I guess, these were helpful for me just to sort of locate it in my head, because this is not.
Yeah, the colors there are not helpful either. The
Yeah.
brown looks like the red, and the red
So-
is the project area.
And you don't know where it is.
No,
In,
it's-
in the world, but these were helpful, so that's all I have. Thanks.
Would echo that comment. These are excellent, understanding context.
Yeah.
Number one.
Couple of things. And then some of it I'm going to defer to Chair on. Keep my mouth off about it.
Okay.
So on, page 20, the second, sentence is, you have DLOT 2024.
Oh, sure
Which
do.
is just like a little
Yeah,
blip,
but
but my
it's
eye was like.
Not accurate. Yes, thank you for,
So the big thing actually is, the cemetery. So, the cemetery is actually eligible.
it is eligible?
It is
Yeah,
eligible. So the way that, and I only know this because I happen to be there.
Uh-huh.
I did not do it, but I happened to be there. So the way that got recorded was with the buildings. So it was determined eligible with the Oddfellow building.
Okay.
So, I printed that out
Oh,
for
thank
you. So that you have it. So,
Is this LA 175664?
so then that brings me to my second point, and this is where I expect you to jump in. If you look at what has happened with cemeteries in Santa Fe lately. And then you look at, the lot for the Oddfellows building.
Mhm.
It pretty much looks like they cut a chunk off the end of the cemetery and slapped that building on that corner.
For the Oddfellows building.
Yes. So if you run the property line kind of down, you can see where the fence line, and you actually had a great picture of it in here, which I first kind of wanted to find. Anyway, I have some concerns about the boring along there.
along Rail Fan Road there.
And this is where I defer to get back.
Yeah.
Why I can't find this picture. Maybe it was just I stared at it on an aerial map for a long time.
Well, I thought I saw a picture as well. I couldn't tell you where. But in general, people with boring equipment should just stay the heck away from cemetery. They should stay a long way away from cemetery. It is the case that the property line that Ron's referred to does look very strange. Because
If you extrapolate it down.
the parcel that includes the building now and its parking lot is sort of sticking out of the lower left-hand corner of the greater cemetery property.
Kind of in that triangular way.
Yeah,
But like, even if you extrapolate down that wall,
Of the
It
building, the west,
no, of the cemetery,
uh-huh,
yeah,
that's right along,
It's
along the
cut
west wall
out.
of the building, yeah, so obviously the building's on top of the former limits of the cemetery. But beyond the west of that, the- is beyond the cemetery, is that correct?
it may be. Because the history of this thing is a little strange. They bought a parcel, thought they bought A, they were told later they bought B, so then they bought another parcel, and now they thought they had all of the original A. Instead, they had parts B1 and B2. It's not 100% certain that the original intended boundary isn't way over under that business that deals in manufactured stone. I found no evidence in plats that the boundary was ever further west, but the strangeness about how we got there is what bothers me. Internally to the plats I have, what is there defined by the fences makes sense. So it's somewhat logical as presented. But here's the deal. I can no longer, and nobody can, as far as I know, go to the county and say, I need to actually look at your books. You have to do everything online and pretend that it has everything, and you can never, ever, ever actually look at the index books. You're stuck with what somebody thought was true whenever they created whatever the digital doodah is that presents what they think is true.
Sure.
Near a cemetery, I'm worried. Beyond the ownership boundary problems, there's phenomenon of go bury them at the cemetery, and we don't have a lot, so it's not legal to dig a hole in the cemetery, but nobody told me I can't dig a hole just outside the cemetery and bury somebody. Every cemetery I've been on has people buried around the outside edges. So, all that being said, we are not at all sure that boring through that area would actually miss people that are potentially there. Which leads me to wonder just how deep can they bore? Or would it be
If it,
acceptable to go pretty shallow and do it in an open trench?
with an archaeological monitor.
Yes,
Obviously.
very much yes.
My gut feeling is best solution is to aim for shallow and do it in an open trench. And live with the fact that you're gonna have to do some repair on things there, but I can testify things are not in wonderful shape right now, so it probably doesn't matter too much. And it'd be nice to get all the holes in it and fixed before it gets repaved. you know, simple things like the boundary between Oddfellow Cemetery and Fairview are not at all established. And where they built the wall is not where the plats I see say the wall should have been built. Instead, it looks to me like the wall is sitting on top of potentially heads, shoulders, or feet of people who were buried very close to the cemetery boundary. So just where the fence or the wall is now doesn't mean that's where the plat lands on the actual dirt. If I was the king of the world, I'd say I want somebody with an instrument who could actually fix those survey points in space to verify that the perceived boundary is the real boundary. Then I'd feel a little less worried about parts of the boring, but really that eastern extremity of that leg that sticks out there, I really think the best solution is an open trench.
For how much of it? Would you say the entire thing?
What?
Along Rail Fan Road, the entire thing?
It has a bit of a dog leg in it. At least according to this illustration, there's a dog leg in the red line.
Yes.
And I would say dog leg termination,
Where it bends?
yeah, I'm not so worried about.
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
Because that goes back toward the old rail alignment.
Yeah.
Where those heads or buildings were. Yeah, good thing.
That's a pretty short stretch.
It is.
And I can't tell from the illustration whether it's running along the edge of the road or the middle of the road.
That's what I was trying to figure out, if it's more to the west.
It's on the, yes, it is along the west side of the road, the southwest side.
It wouldn't cripple local traffic to have an open trench there.
Oh, yeah, they could.
It would just, I think, be better for all concerned. And given what we're looking for, you know, I say shallow, how shallow can they put it? Less than 2 feet?
I think
I don't know.
it's a requirement. The time they hit, when I was out there monitoring, it was at 18 inches and nobody expected it there.
Yeah.
And it almost took out me, the driver, and all of that stuff.
So whatever the
There,
specified
there are,
depth is, we have to live with it. But nothing extra, please. And then
I think it's
really-
4 feet is what they want to
I
do.
think that's
Yeah.
what they usually want.
And
I
I
could
could be
ask.
happy with that, 4 feet monitored. And then profile the crap out of both walls, because if you see interesting things, you wanna know that now.
Sure.
Cause the next time somebody digs a deeper hole out there, we get warned.
Gotcha. So up to 4 feet would be acceptable?
Yeah, we can't do anything about what's
Required.
required
Mhm.
and logical.
Okay. I'll talk to Shelley at PNM about it and see if they could potentially go shallower than 4 feet, but you know, probably will say. I could, you know, at least.
And then the depth of bore was 4 feet.
Yes, the depth of bore is 4
So
feet.
let's just shoot for 4 feet.
Okay.
And we'll live with it, and we'll monitor it, and, we'll hope that there aren't a bunch of,
Friends.
well, it's also true that when there's an epidemic, but just has to shut them in the
Yeah.
ground, and
There wasn't one in 100 years.
right next to is unfortunately all too often chosen spot. So.
Okay.
That is all for me.
Thoughts ahead of time.
Me to do it? I move to approve with the condition that the rail fan portion will be trenched, not bored. That's right. For case 8694.
Moved and seconded, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, thank you. And let's hope you don't have problems.
You too.
Moving on, case number 2024-8874. TRC, Asian Public Service Company in New Mexico, UNM, applicant requests approval for archaeological monitoring plan for the placement of approximately. I'm reading the wrong one, sorry. It's 2024-8874. DRC, Agent for Public Service Company of New Mexico, UNM, applicant requests approval for an archaeological monitoring plan for the installation of approximately 80 feet of subsurface electrical lines at 530 South Guadalupe Street, in the historic downtown archaeological review district. Staff report is before us. Paul, anything to add?
No, Chair.
All right,
Thank you.
Tony, you'll have to be pointing.
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Tony Gore, 532 Carlisle Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87106.
Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the testimony you have in reference to this item shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, and do this under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you, Chair. She has been sworn.
Excellent. Tony, the floor is yours if you need to add something before we move.
I don't need to have anything.
Okay. Then, starting with member one, you have comments, questions?
I think this one, really my only comment was, looking at the Sanborn maps and everything, if you guys could put, the location on
Okay.
on those maps.
Location of,
Yeah.
yeah, most of the Sanborn maps were to the north.
Oh,
of the
okay.
Project area. And I double checked them on a couple of times, cause I
Okay.
thought maybe I was missing something.
So they're not here?
Jeff, so for the most part, they're, the project area is just to the south of it.
Okay, then I don't feel quite so dumb because I could not place myself and I was like, what can I figure out where?
Any indication?
Okay,
of
okay.
Where it is, you know, even an arrow that says
Okay.
100 feet to project area.
Really, so I feel better about my intelligence.
And everybody should realize that Sanborn maps are virtually impossible to georeference. They're good, but they're not that good, so if
Yeah.
these are representational locations, not intended to convey accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
That was really my big comment.
okay. Member Beck,
That was my comment too, but now I'm looking it up on cause I don't know where it is.
It's going into the old Santa Fe clay, right?
No, it's the Barker.
Oh, wait,
It's the Gross Kelly.
did I get confused?
Okay.
It's the Gross Kelly building?
It
Yes.
is, yeah. It,
all around the backside
Yes,
of the
the Grove-
brewery and
and the Gross Kelly Warehouse Parker Realty Building.
Oh, okay.
I guess I want to see on the map where, a map that's not fugitive. This one, okay.
So it's just this little bit right here.
Mhm. So there's rail lines, historic rail lines behind that building. There's a basement in the building, there's the Knuckles building. Did you get all? I guess I didn't, I don't know if I read, not sure, I think maybe I skipped over it after I didn't find it.
So my plan is to, Oh, we've got the previous information. Is to, there are, railroad ties. In the project area, they will be fully recorded. Prior to the removal, they will be photographed and measured, and a sketch map will be completed. Of their alignment. And then since there's the building, Hickory building is nearby, because it's attaching it. This building will be recorded and photographed prior to any ground disturbance.
And then you're putting the railroad ties back in?
Well, they're trenching, so we can put the railroad ties back in place after. I mean,
I think it would be in keeping with the general idea of preserving the rail yard as the appearance of a rail yard. And putting them back would probably be a good idea.
okay.
So I guess a photograph of that area would have been good, because there's the rail, right? The rail is there. I mean, we were required to keep it. The rail, the
I
rail.
just know of the railroad ties, I have not been there yet.
Okay, because the alignment of the train tracks, I guess the steel tracks, is historic, and we were
Right.
required to keep it in all cases.
Aren't these the,
No, this was a spur that went behind the Grove Kelly Warehouse building,
okay,
and it also served the Knuckles Brewery here, and so exactly where you are, all of that is historic, like the ground you walk on is historic. So there's rails in addition to the ties, and those rails have to, the alignment is historic. And the buildings, it determined the location of some of those buildings and vice versa, so that's,
okay. So what do you want them to do?
have you, I don't know, I mean,
It's gonna be an open trench.
This one is.
This one, no, it seems to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, I can recommend that they bore
And it was ironic of the ironies.
what is that?
Well, we preach all the time that we'd rather trench than bore, but in this case, it's boring might make more sense.
Okay.
To avoid
The
run
historic,
around with all the
Yeah.
historic infrastructure that's there on the surface. I mean, there's been extensive research in the rail yard.
It has.
It's not like
We
we
don't
don't know
know.
something about the
Yeah.
rail yard, but it'd be nice to just leave all of that stuff alone. If it were possible. And just bore it,
Yeah,
I mean, that alignment goes to the depot.
okay.
ultimately, it's strictly people.
Obviously, I could not place myself.
We were both confused, and
Well-
then I did finally see that photograph, and was like, oh, okay, but then I'm glad that we. Thank you for reading what you had written out loud.
Is it my understanding that at present, this location is not within the boundaries of a specific archaeological site as recorded?
It is not.
Oh, wow.
I know, I was looking. But,
And they did archaeology, like in the middle
it's
of.
very
the road.
close to 146,407. And close to 146,405. I mean, they're like adjacent.
Right.
If not almost immediately tangent.
Well, because where we did the West Casitas Grove, that was open space right next to this area, we would have done archaeology there. So that's right here. On this little area.
Oh, okay.
Right, but we wouldn't have done it here or here because those would go. But when they did the Knuckles Brewery, did they have to get an archaeological clearance to do all that building? Because they basically tore that building down and rebuilt it with modern materials, you know?
I would imagine it's in the downtown and, or it's in.
It's in the rail
Close
yard.
down.
Yeah, that's suburban, isn't it? Or is,
Historic
That's
downtown.
historic downtown.
I thought you just read that it was suburban, too, no.
Well, it says historic archaeological review.
Anyway.
What confused, I think is I started reading the wrong one. And that does end. in
Oh,
suburban,
okay.
And the right one ends in downtown.
Oh, okay.
So. Yeah. Might be good to start with just a survey, map everything you can see within 100 feet of your project area, and if you see rails, ties, and alignments, I think it deserves being recorded as an archaeological site. Meanwhile,
So do a
Boring.
survey first and then talk to them about boring.
yeah. And having the survey in your pocket already would help, because you can say, look, here are these ties, here are these rails, here's this alignment, it connects this to this, it's important, it's integral to all of it, and let's just avoid the whole question of dealing with mitigation of this rail stuff by boring.
Okay.
I'm not recalling things at great depth in the rail yard that work in this vicinity.
So here's the Gross Kelly warehouse on the Sanborn map right here.
On that little inset.
Yeah, so you are, and here's the knuckles right here, so
Okay.
this is where you are right here.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, I think in the later, like, and that's the 1930s. Yeah, that, then I could start, you could start seeing it.
It's right here. So you see those tracks right here?
Yeah,
That's 21.
okay.
21, and the knuckles is not there. And there was another track that they built on top of. It's a different alignment. Oh, and there it is right there. So there's the Grove Kelly.
Okay.
Mhm. Oh, and it had a portal going all the way around. Now it doesn't have that portal there.
They
That's
remodeled that building
1913.
a few times since then. Yeah.
And that was the first Santa Fe style building. So it's on your 13 map.
Okay.
Just didn't know.
I
what you were
didn't,
looking
I
for.
was,
Right.
Kept looking down here going, it's just right there. You're right, it's gone.
It is just off the big map. It's in the inset.
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's right here.
In that case.
No, that's, someone see that's the other depot.
Double depot.
Yeah, that's the DRG depot.
Anything else here? I mean, the only thing I wanted to say, and might help you locating yourself, is that at least in my printed copy of this thing, on page 2, the location given is that of the next case being presented.
Did we get them in the wrong place? The wrong thing? Yep,
uh,
okay.
This is what I've got as page 2.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, that is the wrong,
Next
yep,
case.
it's the next one.
But
You
as
got-
long as the real thing has the real location, and as long as,
We were confused.
That's why, yeah, okay.
as long as what the city ends up with has the right page,
Okay,
I'm not worried, because we all figured it out.
The Zia station.
This is the wrong
Yeah.
illustration. Somebody hit print and. That is all. I think.
Does that mean this map doesn't go with this?
This map somehow needs to go with that. I just don't know exactly how it would tie in.
So that would be good to know. That's, after 48. Route 14860. Oh, that's right there.
You're making sense of it?
Well, I can get that block to be that block, but then there's nothing that shows how you're getting there, which is what you're trying to do here. So even this map is, something's wrong with that map too.
I will, this is what they sent me, I will ask them.
Oh, I don't have the same map you do. Different map.
Oh, this is the map that goes with it. I will,
That's not right.
that's what you guys are getting, okay.
Well, just so you know, these things are virtually impossible for us to truly understand. When they're laid onto something like this, then it makes sense.
Okay,
Because all the labels and the hard to discern color variations just returns to mud.
okay,
As long as what you put on your closing map is the true and exact line,
mhm,
I think we're not
okay.
in trouble. Do we feel comfortable? Thank you.
So I move to approve, or no, what are we doing? We're approving it. How are we? Well,
Yeah,
we're asking for a survey first. And then a boring and updated maps and labeled maps.
Well.
So.
the next.
We can postpone it, and it should be just a matter of,
Sorry.
yes, we got this map, and that map, and that all makes sense, and go on with life. We shouldn't have any big discussion next time. So if we were to postpone,
Cause that way you can go out and do the survey and tell them you're doing the survey
Okay,
required by the ARC.
okay,
and then you're gonna report all that in one document that includes the monitoring.
so like just add it to this, like have a survey and then the plan, or do you want two separate?
Depends on the survey, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it looks like we're gonna actually need the survey results before you can make appropriate recommendations about how to proceed.
Okay,
So we are approving this with the,
I don't think we're approving it.
we're postponing
I'm
it.
almost thinking it's more
Denial.
like we could vote to deny it, or you could just choose to withdraw it until you get more information from your client and presenting something appropriate later.
okay,
So we have to hear those words.
From you, that you're gonna withdraw the case so that you can come back with more information.
okay, I'll withdraw the case to come back with, more information after I do a survey.
Excellent.
And then you can also ask them at that time
About boring,
because that way you can say, I'm in a historic site that's protected. That's this.
okay.
Usually they look boring.
No, I was like, which one is the boring and which one is the trend?
Surprise. Okay, then we will move on to case number 20248894. PRC agent for Public Service Company, New Mexico, and applicant proposes to install 2,505 feet of subsurface electrical lines at 2401 West Galisteo Road in the River and Trails Suburban Ecological Review District. We've got a staff report, Paul, anything new and different?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Tony, what more can you tell us about this, if anything?
Nothing more.
Okay. Number one.
So, I pulled up, this area has been fully surveyed already, correct?
I believe yes.
Yes, I did the survey.
There you go, that's what I thought. Pretty sure I need that too. So, and found like a can,
And a
If
homeless
they could-
camp and,
yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah. I'm good.
Number back.
Well, I apologize, I'm struggling with the map thing, so show me where it is, please. I can get my map from this one.
That's repeated in this report. And it is correct, and where this is this funky shape here?
And this is Galisteo. And
Oh,
this is
this is
Thea.
the railroad,
Yeah,
this is rodeo,
West Via.
or excuse me, West Via. Yeah.
Well, I need a better map. I can actually see.
The color contrast is for north, that's where it is.
And on this map, where is Zia Road on this map? Zia Road is right up here. Okay, so that's the, here's St. Francis. Galisteo. And what happened to the train tracks?
They are not on here.
They're not shown.
They're not shown.
here.
Yes. They are there, yes. This is to the west of the train track.
And you're trenching,
No, we're boring on.
can you show me the, I mean, is it all the red that you're boring?
Yeah. Majority of it is boring, that's, I mean,
But, is this where?
and then three
This is where
splice boxes as well.
This is where you're doing all that. With this red in.
Yeah.
You've not been out there yet?
No,
How much of it is fairground?
I don't think much.
If any?
There's
Yeah.
some. There's some over.
Well, in all cases, we'd love to see you inspect, well, a survey, the bare ground.
I usually put, maybe I didn't on this one, that prior to any kind of disturbance I would look at before. I Yeah, will be photographed and inspected prior to any ground disturbing activities.
Okay. I think I know where everything is. I agree. That maps would already,
I apologize for the maps. My normal mapping person was on personal family leave and I was having to deal with our GIS subsector of my big company and they just really don't know what they're doing.
I can't really tell what this is and where it's crossing and what it's crossing, so I just really need another map.
Okay.
I mean, I can't read these numbers for one, and then I don't know where you are really on this map. So I just need a little bit more clarity for me to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's unfair, or if you were first today, I might have the patience. But after, I mean, your copy's a lot better than what I got. It's bigger.
It's like right there is our project area.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, that doesn't even show up on my map.
So, okay,
It's gotta be clear.
okay.
It's gotta have some contrast.
it's unfortunately the case that the only illustration of the property or the project area on a sort of streets and surroundings map is also the one showing previous sites, HCPIs and surveys, so there's too much color on it to sort of see through all of that.
Okay.
Its own figure would be a good thing, so that it's clear. Here's the project area. Then you can move on, and when you can barely see it on the other maps, it doesn't matter so much as long as it's the same place. We can see that it's the same place, we just can't see detail behind all the mud.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably fine. I just can't tell, really.
So are we in the same boat?
So this one gets postponed as well?
Well, the easy thing is to just withdraw it and bring it back with the requested information. Or we can make a motion and officially vote on it.
I mean, it's easier to see on my iPad, cause I can go in on it. But it doesn't look like the same thing I'm looking at on the other drawing.
Okay, I'll get the better maps.
Consider that done.
Yes.
Case number 202488891. TRC agent for all Midstood. Applicant requests approval of a cultural resource and testing report of 0.19 acres at 929 Canyon Road. Historic downtown Avalon to review it. Staff report, Paul, anything? No chair. Will be. What do you want to say about this?
The, the very small little. The lot has already been split and platted and stuff, so it's very small. There's been previous ground disturbance all over the back where they want to build the house. As shown by the photographs where it's in completely flat area. And there was no evidence in the trenching or shovel test that was completed. except for the dirt was very hard.
Where's the trench diagram?
The trenches are,
Page 10 is where we see some division.
that's the very last page.
Oh, is that one? So what I wondered about, or I guess you don't have a comment.
Go ahead.
Is, just the proximity to the river. And, you know, I know the houses were focused up on Canyon Road, and then this was fields, or I don't know, I just wondered if there was more to find back here.
I don't really think so. I mean, it just, that whole area has just been so disturbed.
Yeah.
That's why I put the trenches where I did, is they are closest to the river. Before it drops off.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of put them a little back because of the utility easements. I didn't want to get anything. And this is the other part of the original lot. There is a house there right now
On the,
up to
On
the
Canyon,
south.
yeah.
Yeah, that faces Canyon.
Yeah.
So this is behind.
Anything else?
no,
Number one,
So, what the person if I'm wrong, but since this is downtown, it should be the 2% testing.
yep, 2%.
So this doesn't meet the 2% of the lot in terms of testing.
Okay,
Um,
I thought I did the math, but I may have done the math wrong. So
Uh-huh.
how much more do you want?
Well, we don't know what figure you started with. To do your math, you may have done it correctly, but we sometimes have misperceptions of 2% of what? It's 2% of the property, the lot, as it were. And if it's the size specified, you need to have a lot more area in your investigation. Could have been something on the order of 38 square meters of investigation. 18 square feet of which is required to be done by hand. Most people do 18 square feet by going to 1 by 1 meter units, which is more than the required 18 square feet, but it's standard archaeological dimension. This is the easiest way to deal with it. Depending on the width of your backhoe bucket, you either needed something like 30 meters of trench, or at least 20 some if it's a really wide bucket, but it depends on the bucket width. If the bucket width was 0.75 meters, for instance,
It was. Okay,
if you did the absolute minimum, 18 square feet by hand, then you would need 18.4 meters of trench using that bucket, and you've only got 8. I understand shovel tests everybody here, and I think you too know I hate shuttle tests. The 50 by 50 was a really good idea. But my concerns, they're not enough. One shovel test equals 0.0707 square meters. That's almost nothing. The 50 by 50 has 0.25 square meters, so you need a boatload of 50 by 50s to
Okay,
get up there. So it falls short just everywhere.
okay.
Don't ever do shovel test again, unless you've talked to staff and they have said that we are 100% on board with you doing shovel tests. Just don't do it.
Okay.
There must be units, there must be profiles. Then we've got pictures, we've got descriptions, but I don't see any profile. It's easier to do a profile on a 1 by 1 meter unit. Also easier to dig a 1 by 1 meter unit too. The approximate depth of 0.8 meters, which is the depth at which you report hitting river cobbles. You can't just stop. You have to go until you're sure there's no chance of cultural material. So what I suggest is that you go back out there. And you put in at least one by 1. And that you add at least 12 meters trench using the bucket that's specified. Now I'm gonna go further. The 1 by 1 meter unit shall be in the southwest quadrant of the property. Preferably south and west of shovel test unit 1.
Okay.
That is the highest elevation on the property. Be most likely to encounter that which is not heavily disturbed by agriculture, which was probably going on in the area. The trench should cross-cut the location of the garage. Because the
Okay.
plat shows that there was a garage there. We know where the garage was, and you could see the garage on Google Images. It had a concrete, apparently, driveway, maybe had a concrete floor. It'd be nice to know that there are or are not any indications of its foundation.
Okay.
It's a known structure. It's a feature, as it were, visible on the plat. There are 2 other features visible on the plat. One is a possible well and pump in the northeast quadrant of the property. And I made a blow up of the plat that shows that.
When you got that, I couldn't.
I just snipped and blew it up and printed it
My paper.
on this.
I know.
And if staff wants this, I will pass it to them because you can see the well and pump and the garage on this plat. And then over in the northwest corner, where the gray area that I'm not sure I understand what it is, at the north end of this plat, butts up against the north edge of the property. Right in the corner between the west boundary and that gray area, right about where there's an arrow that says something or other outlet or something easement. There's a feature visible on the Google Earth imagery over there. It looks a lot like either a couple of benches and a fire pit or some other sort of casual backyard thing. And those are the locations where test excavations should have been focused. It'd be really nice if you could find if the well is still there in some shape or form. It'd be nice to know what that other feature in the northwest corner is. Really want to know what happened to the garage, and I know when it disappeared. Because you can see it on Google Images up to a certain point in time, and it's gone.
They don't know what happened to the dog.
It just got taken out, and by the time they acquired it, it's not there. But when you look at the aerial photo, there's this interesting circular blob that looks very much like the traffic of all the heavy equipment that was used to remove said garage. So at a minimum, we need to meet the required square area of investigation. That's the 1 by 1 and they added trench.
Okay.
Anything else will be above and beyond the required minimum, but I just want to point out that features that show up on plats or in aerial images ought to be addressed somehow. And since the area has been labeled apparently, possibly the only way to address those is with additional activation. And that could be done with our equipment. So you don't have to bust your fingers digging in the hard dirt. A little judicious scraping with the front end loader on the other end of the backhoe, assuming it has one, or some other means of scraping at the surface would be the easiest way to pursue those features.
Okay.
So, again, we can make a motion and vote, or you could just choose to withdraw until you've done more work, bring us back a complete product.
I'll withdraw.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking at a near map image, trying to get it on the screen, but there's some sort of outline on the property. Is that what you were referring to? Just, trying to get it up on the screen.
There's the property is outlined in red, but this gray thing up here, I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I'm just.
And I was
talking
just
about-
using it as an orientation point for where I saw the features.
Okay,
Over here, you could see pump and well.
Which is underneath the trees.
okay.
So
Yeah.
if you can go back to about 2005, you can see the well on.
I couldn't see.
Yeah.
Nothing left on that, so.
And unfortunately, with the advent of AI everywhere, you can't get a clean snip print of something without doing some other stuff. This gray blob in the middle is there courtesy of the AI gods who say that it's really important to tell me that this is a close-up of the blueprint. Description automatically generated. So you won't see that gray blob on the drawing. So we are done with case.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Administrative matters and communication.
Correct. I don't know how the AOC would feel like to go through the archaeological code.
Did you bring dinner?
I did not. I know it's something that it's been something that's been pushed, but if we went through it, I would type it. I have the PDF copy we have been working on. I can put it on the big screen. I will type in all the revisions.
I tried, I can't do another.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sorry, I got back from the ball field. I got back from Albuquerque last night at 11:30.
Gosh.
Maybe a special meeting or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you need a special meeting, great, cause
After
I
this.
really want everybody else's input, because here I am with all my little flags and all my diatribes to go with, and
Okay,
I need them to yank my chain and download it or
okay.
whatever.
No.
Or be a cheerleader on the side.
Yep, and you're right. Also, we're walking by 123 Grant Avenue at the River O'Keefe. They have not received permit for construction and we started excavating without a monitor. Staff was out there, we cited them, stopped work, and Robin Cordero contacted him today. He will have an archaeologist on site, he will work with the contractor.
What is that whole trenching thing they were gonna do in the alley?
That is permitted and they have, permission for that, but they don't have the permission for 123 Grant Avenue currently. So we're keeping an eye on that. Next to that, thank you for your guidance on the 1600 and working through that one. It's been an interesting project. 1600 in Canyon Road.
Oh.
Thank you for finding a path moving forward. That's good. Yeesh. But that's all we have for that. And we'll get this.
I wanna add to that as well. You're copying the color, when you were doing color, the mailroom has to copy separate the color and insert to the packet. So that leads to more human error. And also our normal copy woman was out the end of last week, so her supervisors at the copy shop this week, so that may have misplaced your map area or your mapping. So my question to you would be, how, is that color really, really necessary for your review? When there's maps, could you refer to the digital copy? But that would reduce more human error and.
We all ended up looking
Right.
at the digital copy because we couldn't make sense of
Right.
color. But
What
there
I,
really just isn't any excuse for people not presenting stuff in a readable way. They are supposed to present it so that it's decipherable as a black and white, crappy third generation Xerox. If they can't do that, it's just a matter of color choice and being careful about contrast and not trying to show 16 things on one map.
Or
Right.
using different symbols and
Yes,
have them in a legend.
right,
yes.
and
It's
then,
basic cartography.
and then as we send out, we have to like reduce files
Right.
and, you know, that changes everything as well, so. I just wanted to.
What you sent digitally has worked great. I picked up the lead search, the keywords and all that. I referred to all of the images visually, but
You'll still get a paper packet, but my question is may I discontinue color on your paper packet?
paper packet is what I rely on. So personally, no.
Okay. Thank you. That was my question. That is all from staff.
Okay. Committee members, anything? Gonna be here next time? Go home.
Don't let it. Thank you.
I won't be, I'll be in Peru.
Oh,
Oh,
That's good.
good for you.
so
I wish I was going with her.
I guess there's,
Go sour.
right, I guess there is one final thing from us, so we will contact you and let you know on a special hearing, and that will be within the, I would say within the next,
3, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
3 to 4 weeks.
for
So maybe
the review of the code.
I mean, you can do it in 2 weeks.
first week in September,
Um,
second week. Let's see, can we do September 9th to the 13th?
Let me look.
I will send out an email tomorrow with the 9th to the 13th.
I can't at all that weekend, so sorry, Gary.
How about
Then I guess I just need to bite the bullet and write down my comment. I guess, you know, maybe I can do that.
Then remove possibility of actually talking.
Open discussion. We should shoot for an open discussion. What works for you?
I can do that week, but Courtney can't.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Do you, is the before and after week not well for you also, or what do you got?
I come back this, I'll be here this week.
I could do Thursday, the 19th,
Thursday the 19th?
or would you rather go before that week?
No, that,
Before possible, we have to get the
I could do the
proposal.
5th.
Before we do
I
that.
could do the 5th.
can you do the 5th, Courtney?
I mean, that's in a week.
Right,
That's-
I think I can do the fifth.
Can we start at 4? Because I'm good at planning commission.
What's that? Heather?
Can we start at 4 instead of 4:30?
Well, I'm fine with that, but we have two other members who,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow for you, September 5th.
and I know time was sometimes a factor for Derek.
Right.
Wearing 16 hats. you know.
God.
Is there a better day that you can do that, Heather?
The planning commission, I just might have to help out.
Yeah.
We'll plan on 4:30, which is the normal time.
Well, I'm fine with 4 if everybody,
Yeah,
those guys are.
I
We'll
thought she-
try, yeah.
I would let the other two members who aren't here drive the starting time.
Okay.
But I have to be.
I may be a little late, but
What
I
about
will
Tuesday?
hold on.
I'll throw a couple September 5th or September 3rd. I'll shoot 2 dates and time.
And we can just answer.
And just answer me. I'll blind CC you guys on that. So only the emails come to me.
And also,
September.
we just need to confirm because we're gonna have a full, thing, so I'll have to notice it. So just, you'll need to let me know, exactly what date you choose before we formalize it.
Yeah, 72 hours.
Yeah, so I have to,
72
post
hours.
this prior,
72 hours before.
before the meeting.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not,
It's a quorum
And
or more, or
right, it'll be formed, so I need to, officiate it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all we got. Thank you.
All right.
so the last thing, any other
Are
matters
we
from y'all?
off the line? Are we offline?
No,
Let's-
we're still online, the
Yeah.
TV,
Software.
yeah, I don't know, it's, I just.
I'm on the agenda.
The home one.
Move to.
Only thing to say aye.
We worked so hard.
Aye.
I.
Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Now you can kill that and.